So it should be. Just make sure it should be on here. We just make sure it's rolling on the place where things go to when they roll.
Twitch.
Twitch, that place, yeah. Once I
I don't have Twitch on my phone. I guess I
tried to
don't.
set it up earlier.
Oh, for sure I did.
There it is.
Are we live? Oh, there it is.
We live.
Oh, we're live.
That's you. In case you can't recognize it.
Except I gotta watch a fucking ad first.
Ugh. I don't have to do that because it's my own.
Because it's your channel.
Yeah.
It's crazy how we're on the internet twice right now.
Yeah, your one will probably be better quality or whatever. I don't know. We'll
My
see.
one.
My OBS one, well, it kind of like it glitches a little bit. That's that's fine. OBS one, well, it kind of like it glitches. That's my voice.
That's not too much delay, you know. So we could be like,
That's my
"Holy
voice.
moly, fuck stains," and they wouldn't have time to silence me.
I don't think they can censor us. My voice.
Holy moly, fuck stains.
You can't censor us. They can censor us. Oh my God, it's gonna say fuck stains forever and ever and ever.
Holy moly, fuck stains.
We're gonna be stuck in the infinite fuck stains.
I mean, come on, that's
Lots
a bad stains to
to
be
clean
stuck
up.
in. It really kind of represents how I feel about stains and being fucked. This is a rated R podcast, fella, folks, persons,
Fellas.
people,
Hey fellas.
places, and things.
Okay. So all right, yeah. Well, let's get it started regularly. We're streaming this. John will
We
join
are.
us later for episode 400.
I know
So
400 is kind of, we're not making quite as big of a deal about it, but it is fun that we're streaming it.
we didn't. I don't have 400 glasses this time. I didn't make
Yeah.
those, but I did. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't. I didn't. I'm wearing this hat, so there you go.
Yeah, you have a nice hat, and we're streaming.
Wearing this hat that Jess
There
made
might be a surprise for
years
me
years ago.
later.
Years ago. So
I'll probably, at some point, you never know. Maybe I'll be wearing something later. I have to think about it.
you're already wearing a hat.
Yeah, but it's just any old hat.
You can
It's
wear.
not. It's not the so those listening only audio. Trey is actually wearing a customized hat. I do believe
Well, this
Jess
won't be.
helped customize that for you.
I would say this won't be on the audio version because we haven't technically started recording yet. This is
So
just
those on the audio version that
that
are
doesn't
only
exist.
listening to the Patreon audio, even though it's a video file.
Yes,
Coincidentally, Trey is a video file.
I am a video file.
I was telling Trey a little bit ago, just so a little bit of just yapping. I got second place in trivia. At the second place I got, or the same place I got third in the mustache competition a couple weeks ago. So Rose Bowl is my place.
They can, yeah. They should start giving you trophies or something.
Well, we won $10 as a team of 5 people.
Mm.
So yeah, we get essentially a free drink, like a really cheap one. Actually, I don't think they have any $2 drinks. So yeah, whatever. I spent more than $10 on drinks while I was there with tip and stuff, but
Yeah, that's how they get you.
it's fine. I
You
had
spend a lot of
fun,
money and then they give you
and it's super duper laid back.
they give you
Like
some money back.
I mean, you're hoping people aren't looking at their phones, but people probably are. I never did. I did between rounds, but
It's like Scouts Honor or something.
correct. And everybody gets to have like their own names of their teams. We were on well, actually, because you said Scouts Honor. We were actually called Girl Scout Jamboree. I'm not sure why. That's just the team we joined, and it's a couple of people that Shauna met through a roller derby, so it's like their friends. And then yeah, I don't know. One of the guys, John, he's also in roller derby, but he's just like I don't know. He's one of those really smart folks that you can just like talk to for a while and just pick his brain about stuff. He's like super into 3D printing. He has like multiple 3D printers set up at his house, and he's always like making projects and stuff. Like he made a custom like yaw joystick for a arcade he was building in his garage. So yeah, like he essentially built a controller from scratch
There you go.
with 3D printing.
All right. I'm gonna roll on the audio now. Now I'm rolling. So we can start
So
this.
this, for those listening just audio, this is the part where you can hear.
All right. Welcome. This week on NintenDomain. It's our episode. This week on uh this week on NintenDomain. It's episode 400. We're gonna talk about our top 5 franchises that are not Mario or Zelda.
It was a different time. Our quotes were more guttural and succinct, like
Now I'm curious. I don't know what comes after that. That's like yeah. Sounded like that was some whatever. Some special effects for a fighting game. Welcome to Nintendo Main Podcast, episode 400. We're at the big 400. It only took what, like lots of years. I don't keep track of how
lots
many
of years and
eight
even more
years,
beers.
8 years, something like that.
Yeah, we're sitting at around 8 years, I think.
We started in like 2015, in the end of 2015. But yeah, we are here. We are your hosts. We're here to talk to you about Nintendo franchises that are not Mario or Zelda, and also other shit. But our names are we are your hosts. I'm Trey Soft Combat Johnson.
I'm Jeremy. 100 emoji times 4. Fear, 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 fear. Mikowski.
That's the sound of those annoying whatever.
Air horns. Yeah, I'm really in like a sound effects mood tonight. If
I
no
mean,
one
you
else can
sound
tell,
your version of it is sounded better than the actual thing, so I'll take that.
I softened it a bit for you because I know
There you
you're a soft gamer or soft combat.
go. Yeah. Yeah, Soft Combat is a game that's playing behind me for anybody who's watching the video. You get to see these videos behind me that you would only see through Patreon.
I know there are
Patreon.com/Nintendo
videos within videos. Some
Main
could say.
Podcast. I set up the whole recording studio so I could put TVs behind me to play.
We've come a long way from when I used to record on my phone,
As of right now,
sitting in a dark room by myself.
yeah, we have dueling Mortal Kombat 1s here. We have Mortal Kombat 1 for Switch and Mortal Kombat 1 for Genesis. That's what I have going on there. I put the Genesis one up because the Super Nintendo one doesn't do a demo mode. I mean, it does, but it doesn't do fighting.
Not as good of an attract mode.
So Genesis won that version. Even though I do think the Super Nintendo one looks better, even though it doesn't have blood.
Finish him
But I did put
with
the blood.
attract mode.
I did put the blood code in. So there you go.
Good. So
But
it shows the blood in the attract mode as well now.
it does, yeah. It's in there.
That's bad. That's badass. In fact,
Yes. I guess we could segue. So let's start off our show as we normally do and talk about games that we got and games that we've been playing. Could have like put that. I could have put that sound effect on here since it's like kind of live. Now by the time I play it, it'll be like after the fact. Games we got and games that we've been playing.
you don't have it set to
Hold on.
whatever the
Yeah,
yeah.
there it is. That's what we normally have on the show. Anyway, yeah, let's talk about games. So I got some stuff. I start off here.
Nice.
I finally got Mortal Kombat 1, the famous Mortal Kombat 1 Switch game.
I heard it doesn't look that great,
You know what? It's not that bad.
but
The
now you can speak from experience, and I do admire that
you can look at it right
purchased
here. You can watch it.
You actually purchased this because you are that big of a fan of both Mortal Kombat and Nintendo that you said, I will take whatever crap comes with it because I have to have this particular version on this particular console, right?
Well, let me tell you something. I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice in the matter. If
You
I
couldn't
wanted
play it
to
on.
Mortal
It's
Kombat
not
1,
on PS4.
no, it's not.
I think we talked about that before, and I
Yeah,
forgot.
it's really annoying. It's only on PS5 and Switch, so I only had one choice of getting it. If it was On PS4, I probably would have got it a long time ago, but I can't, so I had to get it on Switch because
Well, I can't give you as hard of a time then.
so I'm not going to
Yes.
buy a whole system just to play it. But I did, I played through the story mode of it. Like I beat the game, I beat the 8 hour story mode or whatever, and the story mode is great. I recommend. I think that it was kind of rough to pay like $70 for it, which I didn't, by the way. I waited. I paid 40 something, 46 I think
You
for it.
bought it secondhand, correct?
Yeah, I bought it used from eBay, and it actually went on sale new later for 40. So I should have just waited for because I was trying to wait for the Black Friday stuff, and it didn't happen yet. So I just I was on an auction, and I ended up like I was almost there, and I just was like, oh, I'll just bid again, and so I got it on the auction. Anyway, I got it for $46. It took a long time. Probably longer time to get here if I would have just waited and bought the $40 one. But whatever. Anyway, I still got to play it regardless. And they have updated it since it got all the shit when it came out. They have fixed some things. Like when I said my middle name was Soft Combat was because that sometimes in the game, like when I first started playing it, the the textures didn't load. So like all the characters were all like soft. Like they all looked funny. Like they're all kind of like Smooth Yoda or whatever. If you've seen that online, where it's kind of like everything looks real. There's no texture or anything to
Did you
any of
say
the characters.
Smooth Yoda?
Yeah, have you seen that? Have you seen Smooth Yoda where it's like where they take all those textures off and it basically looks like I don't know.
Like Dobby?
It just looks like looks like Mortal Kombat. It looks like when you take all the textures off and it's just all smooth. But yeah, I did that when I first started playing it, and I realized that I don't know why. I actually like restarted it. I like turned it off and turned it back on, and then it looked a lot better. Like I reloaded the game. So and then all the soft combat went away. So whatever.
Sometimes you just have to turn it off and turn it on again.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I mean, yeah, I just, I closed the game and then I went back in. But so when I first started playing it, I was playing it while I was editing the podcast. So I didn't really do any of the story stuff. So I was just like, you know what, I'll just fuck around with the regular arcade ladder. So I jumped into the arcade mode and I was just playing around with that. And first match that I play, the game crashes and it kicks me out of the game. And I'm like, oh, okay, well this sucks. I was like, I hope it's not going to be like this. But that's the only time it did that. It only did it one
Wow.
time. It only crashed one time.
It's like,
But
are you a true fan? We're gonna
so,
test you right now.
so then I started it again, and I was like, all right, well I'll do a different an arcade person. And I was editing. I paused it. I kind of like I put it on like the menu screen. I went and made some food, and I came back, and then I go back in the game, and it's like you lost your internet connection, and then it kicks me out of the arcade mode again, and I'm like, oh, okay. Guess they don't want to let me play the arcade mode. But Mortal Kombat 11 was like that too. That isn't anything new. It was really weird that like it needed this consistent online thing for you to play the arcade mode and all that, which is really strange, especially for a game that's on a handheld system or a handheld hybrid. It's like, yeah, you can only play it if you have the internet. So it's like, okay, or you can only play parts of it. I guess. I guess you could do story mode wherever, but for some reason, even to do like a ladder mode, you needed to be online, like the ladder arcade. So whatever. So that was really weird. So third time's the charm. Third time I finally played through the arcade mode while I was editing, and I beat it with Scorpion. And the game had again, the game had gotten a lot of shit for the main thing that I was worried about was the load times, because the load times can be kind of long. And actually, you really don't notice them at all in the arcade mode. So that's cool. You can play through the arcade ladder fine. And I didn't deal with loading and all that. And same with the story mode. Like when you're on the story mode, the loading is hidden pretty much behind while they're playing the cutscenes. So they might kind of like stutter a little bit the cutscene, but it's loading and then it'll be up. There's some parts where like at the end of the game you have to fight like this big gauntlet of characters where there's not really any cutscenes in between. So there is like a little loading in that part because you have to fight like guy after guy after guy. So you'll see like a little Mortal Kombat dragon head. It's like a shadow that like will fill in like over and over again, and that's when it's loading. And that wasn't even really that bad either. The worst that the loading got was in the invasion mode. And invasion mode is this. It's like this Mario Party sort of thing, I guess. It's like a board game that you move around, and the board is like Johnny Cage's mansion, and you go and you do different like missions or whatever. Like you'll like move to a spot and it'll be like, okay, you got to do this, but then flying demons will drop stuff on you while you're trying to fight. Like there's like weird shit that
So
will
you're
happen.
like cleaning out the hot tub, and there's like demons, and then you're like going. You're like going to like stock the pantry, like load up the groceries, and there's like Sub Zeros in there, like trying to freeze everything.
There's just demons everywhere, just stopping whatever you're doing. No, yeah, you just it actually reminds me a lot of another ladder mode that I think was in. I don't know if it was in 11 or 10 or 9. It was one of those other Mortal Kombat's where you would just go, from challenge to challenge, and it would change. Like some of them, like the gravity would shift, and it would be like tilted, or like you would lose, or you would like start with less life, and you get more life back when you hit the guy. It's like kind of stuff like that, except it's put on a board,
I
like a
actually like
party
that.
board thing. I like those sort of missions and stuff. The thing that sucks is every time you start a match, it takes like 30 to 40 seconds to load. So there'll be this like burning Mortal Kombat dragon thing that shows up on the screen, and you just watch it burn. And I timed it, and it would be anywhere from 30 seconds to 40 seconds, which is a pretty long time if you're playing like a thing where you got to do like match after match after match. So that's annoying. That's like probably the worst thing I can say about it. But as far as like getting it for $40, like I say, only get this is the only way that you can get it like me. If you don't have a PS5 or whatever. Oh,
I
I
would
think
say I wonder if it's not on so it's not on PC either. So I would think if this isn't on PC, then that is kind of a missed
I mean my
opportunity.
my PC wouldn't run it.
Well, no, all I mean is like just going back to what you said about how can you play it? Like not everyone has a PS5, obviously. That's still a I don't think it's like hard to get them anymore, but not everyone can afford one.
It's hard to get if you don't have $500 sitting around.
Exactly. But if that surely means besides the PS5, then it seems like Switch is an okay alternative for now if you don't pay $70 for it, possibly.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, like I said, for me, I've played all of the mainline Mortal Kombat games, so I just wanted to play it, and it was, the story mode is really fun. Like I
So how does the story
like the
mode
stories and all
versus
that.
the ladder? Like it's got cutscenes, but you're still going through a ladder essentially.
No, there's no ladder. Like what I mean, what I mean in the ladder is, the arcade mode. There's like the tower,
Right.
and
No, I know that, and that's what I'm wondering. Like,
you
isn't
go
that
up, and then you
essentially
fight
the
the guy
same
at the top,
thing?
and then it's over.
I mean, is
Uh,
that essentially the same thing in the story mode? You don't see the ladder, but you're sequentially going through harder characters or something like that.
Not really. Like they've been doing this since I think it started in Mortal Kombat versus DC, like that game, the original one for PlayStation 3. I have it. I mean, I have all of them, like I said. But it's basically, yeah, it's a bunch of it'll be a bunch of like cutscenes, and then you'll fight a match, and then there'll be more cutscenes. But they'll be different. They'll basically be different chapters based on different characters. So it'll say like Chapter 1, Sub Zero, and then you'll play as Sub Zero for like 4 or 5 matches or whatever, and then it'll be like Chapter 2, whoever else, and then you'll play as that person for however many matches, and that's basically how it goes. And then when you get to the very, very end of it, they let you pick whoever you want, and then you do like that gauntlet mode, which is, I guess, kind of like the ladder minus the ladder. But that one's kind of funny because I guess this is kind of spoilers. But at the end of the game is basically the game Mortal Kombat Armageddon, which was on PlayStation 2 and Wii. If you remember that game, that was the second time where they took all the Mortal Kombat characters and they stuck them all together in one game. And you get then and in that one there's like this big giant pyramid looking thing, and you're going up the stairs, and there's a big fight on the stairs and all that. That's the premise of that. This story basically ends with that, with you on that same premise, and it's supposed to be, obviously because everything has it now. Now we have Mortal Kombat multiverses. That's basically what this game is. So even though it's called Mortal Kombat 1, it's actually Mortal Kombat 12, which I knew that. Anybody who played Mortal Kombat 11 knows that
So it's
because
kind of like Dragon Quest Builders, right?
well, kind of. I mean, Dragon Quest Builders is kind of, I guess, is like an alternate reality stuck into. Yeah, I guess yeah. You could say Dragon Quest Builders is a multiverse thing because it is a different reality than whatever. It was the other choice you could have made at the end of the
Right.
game. But this one is like so. Mortal Kombat 11. There's this lady named Chronica. She's like the Time Lord. She controls all the time of Mortal Kombat. She has like a fucking giant hourglass that controls all of the lives of the Mortal Kombat characters or whatever. Anyway, at the end of the story mode of that, Liu Kang beats her, and he becomes the time god. So Liu Kang is the time god now. So basically, what happens in Mortal Kombat 1 is Liu Kang basically restarts the universe and tries to make all of the bad guys into lesser characters. So, like, he makes it to where Shang Tsung and Quan Chi and Shinnok and all those, whatever those guys, make sure they never come into power or whatnot, and tries to, like, steer it to how he wants it to be. So he's like the god of fire now, instead of Raiden. And Raiden's in it, but he's not the god of thunder. He's just a regular dude that gets a thunder
And
talisman
aren't
or
Sub
whatever.
Zero and Scorpion related or something?
Yeah, they're brothers now. Sub Zero and Scorpion are brothers now, and actually, they kind of it's fun because they basically take a lot of the characters and flip them around. So like instead of like Scorpion's always kind of been like the villain character and dead. He's been dead in like all of the games, but he's alive now, and he's like kind of more of the hero, and Sub Zero's the bad guy. So it's like let's kind of flip it around, where
Is
like
Johnny Cage like simping for someone really hard? Like it's just like a super fan of or something like that,
Johnny Cage is in it. He's
but
a
not super fan.
but he's not like I don't know. It's weird. What I want to know from playing it is since like Liu Kang is God now, and Liu Kang recreated the world. Why did he hate Sonya? Because Sonya's not in it. He totally took her out of the timeline. She's not on the timeline. It's like, what do you got against Sonya, dude? Like, you just wanted to just wipe her out? You're like, fuck Sonya. Get her out of here. We don't need to see her. There's like no Sonya, no Kano. And they are
You
in
think
there.
they'll get added eventually, or
Well, they're in there as like cameo characters, and that's kind of what's cool. What's the idea about this game is there's cameo characters, which is kind of like what you would see in like Mortal Kombat or not Mortal Kombat, Marvel vs. Capcom 2,
it's
and
like a
that sort of thing.
special
Where you can
attack
have your guy
essentially?
come in. Yeah, you can have a guy come in and attack for you. But the idea of the cameo characters is like, you could basically stick like Johnny Cage with Sub Zero or something like that, and now you can freeze people. Where you wouldn't normally be able to freeze people with Johnny Cage, like that sort of thing. It's the idea is to kind of like you know put different moves with different characters. So Kano and Sonya are in there, but they're cameo characters, and Jax is as well. But they're not in the story. Like they never mention them at all in the story.
So they're just avatars. They're not actual like characters. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, they're just. I mean, they're not in the story at all. Like they don't show them at all.
They're
Like
fan service, but they're not part of the new story mode or whatever.
yeah, like you can use them in the game, but I don't understand why they didn't. Because they're like because yeah, Liu Kang is creating this new world, this new timeline. And what happens is all of a sudden, Shang Tsung and Quan Chi become like villains again. And he's like, well, what the fuck? I didn't make them. I made them out to have like shitty lives. Like they shouldn't be getting powerful. And then he finds out is that there's another Shang Tsung from another timeline that has jumped into this timeline, and he's pretending to be Chronica. And basically, I know the lore on Mortal Kombat is so dumb, but yeah, he's pretending to be Chronica and basically trying to steer Shang Tsung and Quan Chi together so they can have a deadly alliance again, which I laughed at that because Deadly Alliance was a Mortal Kombat GameCube game, and I was like, oh, I understand that reference.
Honestly, this stuff doesn't sound any more convoluted than like a Metal Gear Solid or a Kingdom Hearts
Or
or.
like Elden Ring or whatever with all the lore. I
Well,
mean, it,
Elden Ring's convoluted, but it makes sense ultimately. It's not.
I mean, it makes sense to me, but I've played every Mortal Kombat game, so I
Yeah.
so I recognize the names and the characters and all that. So anyway, they do their regular Mortal Kombat tournament, and then like Shang Tsung and Quan Chi are getting stronger, and they find out that there's multiple timelines, and Quan Chi brings in all these evil versions of every character of like all these different characters to fight them, and Liu Kang's like, oh well, I have to become the time god again because I guess he gave up his time god ability to become the fire god or whatever. So he goes back to being the time god, and he's like, I'm going to bring in all these people from these different universes to help us. So he brings the people back from Mortal Kombat 11, but you still don't see like Sonya or Jax or Kano or anything like that. I mean, he mentions Kano. He says, in some of these realities, Kano might be the champion. Like he says his name like that, like as a joke, because Kano's a joke, whatever. But they never show Sonya coming in there or anything like that. And Johnny Cage doesn't have. Yeah, he's always been after Sonya. Maybe that's why they took her out of there. But Johnny Cage starts off like his story is basically he's like Harrison Ford. Like you basically see him pretty much acting in Raiders of the Lost Ark, like that game. So he's got the whip and he's wearing the hat and it's basically the same as like I was like, oh, he's like Harrison Ford now. So he's like he goes through this whole like movie thing, and and then he has a wife that's not Sonya, but she leaves him because he's been spending all his money, but he's not making enough money in movies and blah blah blah, that sort of thing. And then he gets visited by Liu Kang. That's like, you will be a hero. You must come with us. And then he comes and joins the gang of people, and they, whatever. What I found kind of interesting in the story mode is there's like no guys, there's like no females on the Earth realm area. Like all the Earth realm people are all dudes, and all the good Outworld people are all ladies. So maybe that's why they didn't put Sonya in there, because they want to have like, it's like, here, these are all the girls over here are good, and all the guys over here are good from the Earth. I don't know, that sort of thing. But I mean, the story is great. Like it's acted really well. It's written really well. Whatever. It's got funny, stupid stuff in it. It's Mortal Kombat. And you get, what is it? Kenshi. I don't know if you remember Kenshi. He's like a blind ninja guy. He like came in later in the GameCube
I
ones.
don't.
He has like this red bandana over his eyes. But I didn't recognize who he was. But he shows up because Johnny Cage bought this, like, whatever, this magical blade from Japan for like $3 million, because he talks about all this shit that he bought with his wife. She's like, you're wasting all your money.
Yeah.
Whatever. And he's like, she's like, you bought that sword for $3 million, and he's like, well, it'll pay off at some point. So Kenshi shows up looking for the sword, and he's like, I'm here. He's like, I'm here from the Yakuza. I'm here to take the sword from you. And this has to be intentional, but he's wearing the exact same outfit that Kiryu wears in like the regular Yakuza games. So he has
Oh
like
yeah.
the gray coat and the red shirt like unbuttoned on the top. That's got to be like Kiryu. I mean, if it isn't, then that's a really weird coincidence. But that
Then it's
has to
just
be like
generic
a
Yakuza in
shout out to
Japan or something.
Yakuza. Well, I always thought that Kiryu's
Maybe
outfit
not the gang, but the
looked really
game.
dumb. I mean, I always thought he looked really dumb because he's wearing like this. I mean, I read an interview one time with actual, ex-members of Yakuza, like playing the game Yakuza, and they're like, we would never wear a ridiculous suit like that. Like looking at the way Kiryu dresses. But it's like obviously that's a reference to.
Then it probably is for sure.
So Kenshi's like, he's not blind, and I'm like, okay, what's happening? But then later he gets his fucking eyes stabbed. He gets two sais stuck in his eyes from Melina, and that's
Hmm.
pretty fucking brutal. And then he like bonds with the $3 million sword, and then he becomes Kenshi, the Kenshi that
Stabby boy.
we know and love.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of what's cool about the game, is you get to see the characters become what you know them as.
It's like a final destination kind of thing where their fate is determined whether or not they try to change it. So like he
I
got
guess sort
stabbed in
of.
the eyes by evil Raphael and
Oh
he
yeah.
can't see no more.
Melina, you remember Melina? She was in Mortal Kombat too.
Yeah.
Uh, and they do some cool stuff where like Baraka's a good person now too. Like Baraka's a hero, which I like because I always loved Baraka. Baraka was always one of my favorite characters. So fuck yeah, make him cool. But now it's like now like whatever's happening, Baraka, when you have like a million teeth on your face, that's like a disease that's going around Outworld, and Melina has it too. But like she's like the head princess instead of Katana, and she has to hide her Baraka-ism wherever, so she can still become queen, and they have
So
to
there's a
like,
bunch of teeth behind that mask.
yeah, that was the idea of it in Mortal Kombat 2, was, yeah, that her and Katana look the same, but then she takes her mask off and she has like the Baraka face, and then she eats you. Like that's for the
Yeah.
some of the finishing moves were like that, where she would like inhale you and spit your bones out or
Yeah,
whatever.
one of those palette swaps just like Sub Zero and
Yeah, like Sub Zero and Scorpion and Smoke and Reptile and all that. And Reptile's really cool. Like Reptile's like a good guy now in this one, and he has a bigger he has like a bigger part in the story. And I don't know,
he
it's
actually spends some time in water. He's more amphibious.
well, he always, I mean, the interesting about Reptile is he always looks like his full reptile form is always different in every game. Like he always looks completely different. So he always has. I think he's the only Mortal Kombat character that has like such a drastic redesign in like every sequel, which is kind of cool. So, but yeah, he looks. Yeah, he's cool. I don't know. I like Reptile. I like all the characters there. What I would say is anybody who can only buy it for Switch, I'd say it's worth it. Like if you can get it for like, if you're only interested in the story mode, I think the story mode in itself is worth like $20-$30 because it's really fun and it plays fine, for what it is. Yeah, it just has, like I said, it has a little bit of loading stuff. And you don't do any of the finishing moves in the story mode, so you don't have to deal with that. But in Invasion, you can do the finishing moves, and it does take, once you do the move, it'll take you like 5 or 6 seconds before it actually does it. It'll kind of just pause and then the move, and then it'll do the move. So there's stuff like that. But I mean, it's honestly not really that much different than the stuff that I experienced in the PS4 version of Street Fighter 6. So, because that game has way too much loading in it as well. So I was like, I've been prepared by Street Fighter 6 on PS4, so I know all about this. But it was worth it. It was worth it for me to play through the story mode. The story mode is fun and stupid, and all your if you like Mortal Kombat, you played all the Mortal Kombats. There's a shit ton of references in there. There's a bunch of references to movies and stuff too that Johnny Cage will say. He's still funny and silly and all that. And I never really saw that weird, the Johnny Cage with the eyes bugging out that you saw on the internet many times. I never saw that version of Johnny Cage in the game.
I think it was just a lot like the when what was it, Mass Effect Andromeda came out. Like it was just like the worst of the worst that would rise to the top of the memes.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was the same thing with like Pokemon, right? Where
Right.
like the ground was disappearing. Like that never happened to me. There was one time where somebody's like body disappeared and they were like a floating head in the background, and that was funny. I mean, I don't mind that. I was like, hey, that doesn't affect the gameplay.
It's
I
not a
get it.
bug, that's a feature.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was pretty hilarious that somebody just their head just separates from their body and floats around. Like I was like, oh, that's funny. But I mean, it's kind of like that sort of thing. Not that I'm comparing this to. Maybe it looks a little bit better than Pokemon. I don't know. It's hard to adapt a fucking PS5 game to Switch, but I say hats off to these people for doing it. It just sucks that the load times are so bad. There was a there was like a breakdown video of it that Switch Up did, and they said there should be an option on there where you can just turn off the animations in the background and just make it quicker to load. Like kind of like what they did with Street Fighter 4 on 3DS. And maybe they should do that for all the for all the NetherRealm people that are listening to this podcast. Get on that, because like the 3DS game, the Street Fighter 4 one, they just made it to where the backgrounds were just kind of fuzzy and just didn't move, and it made the game way smoother, and you didn't have to deal with loading and all that stuff. So it'd be cool if there'd be a feature on that where you could just kind of just turn it off. It'd be like, oh, well, don't have any animations in the background. Maybe that'll help it load quicker. You could make it all soft combat. You could make it all no texture combat. Maybe that would make it load quicker or something like that. I don't know. It'd be nice to have options, just be like, all right, turn this off, turn that off, whatever. But it kind of, it's cool. There is a lot of stuff on it to do. You can level up your characters, and you unlock stuff as you like level up yourself as a player, and as your characters, you get additional like costumes, and you can unlock different cameo characters through that. And it's I don't know, kind of made me a little sad that we didn't get stuff like that for AEW Fight Forever, like where we could, level up our characters, or at least like unlock a different outfit. Man, come on, still waiting for.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that. But it was, oh yeah, and not to mention, I bought a physical version of it, and this is probably like the worst physical I've ever got, because I had to install like 30 gigs or something stupid like that, like on top of the physical, like the whole physical thing is kind of a lie. It's
It
not.
really is.
I mean, even like what was it? Even like Fire Emblem, the cartridge on that, I still had to install like 9 gigs like to get that to play. That won't play just by itself like without internet. So it seems like it's just kind of like, yeah, sure, people want it, and they're like, oh well, I'll always have it. And it's like, well, no, because you still need to get online and and install the stuff and all that. So it's still like
I really kind of learned that first with Witcher 3, and then when I bought those when I bought the Fallout collection, and or not Fallout,
Fallout collection.
not
Uh,
Fallout.
yeah, no, the Bioshock.
BioShock, there we go. BioShock and the Borderlands collections, because they were so cheap. They're literally just, it's a code like that it's sending to be like allow them to download it because it's in the console. It's not, I
Oh
don't
yeah,
think, I would posit that there's literally nothing on it, or just the title screen or whatever, but who knows.
yeah. It's just kind of whatever. But I guess on that note, I did just it was a Black Friday thing, and I just just kind of just to try it out. I bought one of these physical switchers from Amazon, which is it's kind of funny. It's basically so
You put cartridges in it.
you put cartridges in it, you put switch cartridges in it, and it'll switch.
I didn't even know this was a thing.
there's okay. So I bought this for like 20 bucks. It was on sale from Amazon, and so it has this like top flappy part here. This is basically a game. If you look at it, it has the same
Does it
stuff as
taste
the
like the
Switch
game?
game. I don't know. I didn't taste it. I've never tasted one of those. So you put this into the game slot, and then you hook this thing onto like the back of your Switch whatever your Switch dock. It has a little clip here that'll just clip onto either Switch dock. You know the OLED or the regular one, whatever. It clips onto that like skinny part at the top, and then you just plug this USB thing into the side of the Switch, and then there's this little arrow on the side that will glow different colors depending on which game is being played on it. And there's versions where you can just press this button and it'll switch between the different ones. But I bought the one with a remote. So it has so you press this, as you can see there's a light on this thing. You press this button here and then it'll switch your games for you. So there's 8 spots in here, but you can only use 4 to switch between. So there's you can switch between 4 games and you can store 4 additional games under there. So yeah, I bought this thing, and it works if you really wanna like play your physical games and not get out of your seat and change them. You can get this thing.
Now, I want to say, I've known Trey for a very long time.
It's
Trey
called
had a CD changer in their
I,
trunk of their
yeah.
car for a while. So,
I did, yeah, the old 10 disc changer. That was cool.
and you had a big old, like,
I had like a
you had like
200
a
disc
hundred disc,
changer
or yeah,
too.
you had a giant one
Yeah,
that was just
until it
basically your shuffle mode
yeah,
in your
until it like
house.
broke like half my CDs.
That wasn't great, but no, this kind of seems like an extension of that, but like kind of almost like
Yeah, kind of.
definitely like a novelty version. And I could see like throwing like, what are these games you only play at home? Like, maybe like somebody who only like plays Smash or whatever, like maybe Mario Kart, like just have it always like to where you don't have to go change out the cartridge. That makes sense to me, but it's still kind of funny that there's a whole separate like remote you have to use if you don't want to like get up
Yeah,
and then you
there's
got to keep track of that remote on top of whatever else you
yeah.
keep track of.
Yeah, there's different versions. You can buy one without a remote, but I was like, I want one with the remote, and I did it. I put like my last 4.
I'm mostly intrigued by that cable that goes into the Switch just because like you think that would maybe open up the possibility for emulation or something such you're going straight into it with a USB device.
Well, I mean, this USB is just to power it. Like the thing
No,
that
no,
actually.
but that is a USB power device that's
Oh,
being
okay.
plugged
Yeah,
straight into the.
since it has like this little
So theoretically, you could
yeah,
have
yeah.
that plugged into a PC and then stream a game to it from the PC, maybe.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, I'm sure somebody has made something
So
like
that's what I find most interesting about that. Otherwise, I find it more funny than
silly.
functional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
I guess you can't have functional without fun.
The last couple the last few cartridge games that I got, like physical ones, I did want to play, so I was like, well, I'll just buy one of these changer things and see if it works.
And it was only $20.
It was
As
on
far as
sale. Yeah,
being like a
I
fun
think
little piece of technology, I think you paid the right price for it.
yeah, I think it's normally like 40 or something like that, but there was a discount. There was a Black Friday discount or whatever. I don't know what the regular price was, but that's what I got it for, and I just wanted to try it out. But I would think like somebody like I know John has a lot of has a lot of physical games. So like if because John has like Mario Wonder and like Tears of the Kingdom and now like Sonic Superstars. Like imagine like you want to play all these games like in regular rotation and you don't want to like you
Right.
know switch them in and out of your. That's kind of what I was trying to do here because I have Mortal Kombat I have Mortal Kombat physical that's in there right now. But the last 4 games that I bought physical are all in here, like all ones that I still want to play on the regular. So I got Fire Emblem Engage in here. I got Sonic Frontiers in here, and I have Fire Emblem Warriors in here, which are like the last 4 physical games that I got. And I want to play them, and I don't want to have to like switch them in and out. So it's a weird, like I said, it's a weird little thing, but it works.
It's very yeah. It's a got a specific audience. So for me, it would be all the games I'm only going to play multiplayer. Like where
Yeah.
people are sitting at the TV. So I'm going to throw Mario Kart in there. I'm going to throw uh Mario Party in there because I do own the physical of that.
Yeah. See, you got physical stuff too that you
So it would be
have on a
those
Switch before.
games that or Mario Kart. I think I already said that. Or like Smash Bros. You know, games that I'm only going to play multiplayer. I'm not going to be playing them by myself. I might as well just have them like on the dock, which I don't play handheld either that much, which I think you play a little bit more handheld because you got that OLED. But
I do,
yeah,
yeah, I
it
do
just
only do
doesn't
it in
really. I'm not the audience for this peripheral, but I am fascinated by it and by what it might represent on like streaming to the Switch. If anybody's figured that out yet,
yeah, you can't use this handheld. You can only use it with the dock,
right?
just so you know. And I only really play handheld like when I'm on the road, for sometimes, for some jobs where there's a lot of waiting time.
I imagine you could play it handheld, but you'd have to have it hooked up to an external power source.
Yeah, I don't know how you would do it because like I said, this thing runs off of the dock like this does.
Well, it would run off any USB device
Yeah, I
potentially.
guess I never tried that. I mean, I guess I could try it because I do have a road thing next
Plug
week.
it into your laptop. Plug it into just
Like,
a power brick or like maybe one of those like those chargers, those
yeah.
external batteries.
So I guess I could try it. Yeah, I could try to like charge it off the computer, charge it off the dock even, but not use the switch on the dock. Yeah, it's just an interesting little weird thing, and I like this little dumb remote too. It's just like one button. It's kind of cool that
Kind of looks like an AirTag.
it's cool that the little triangle here changes colors though, depending on what game you're playing. I like that. But it works great. I mean, I tried it. Like I said, I loaded it up. I switched it between different games. I played them, and they all worked. They all worked fine. So it's they had a similar thing like this for Game Boy Advance. If you remember, there was a little like
Yeah,
Game Boy Advance thing you could stick on the bottom that would switch like between three cartridges of your Game Boy Advance. And I was like, I hope it does shuffle mode. This thing doesn't do shuffle mode, so it's trash. Get rid of it. So there you go. And what else? I mean, I guess Jeremy was here in person last week
it's
after
true.
and we played a little bit Tetris 99. We played some WarioWare too while you were here. So I did that. Also, I got Dragon Quest Builders, but I got Dragon Quest Monsters, not Builders, and I've only played a little bit of it. I've only played like 3 hours of it because I wanted to finish Mortal Kombat first before I
Yeah,
got. So,
yeah.
but
I
I
feel
mean,
like that's probably gonna like eat up your time once you start playing it.
but I like it so far. I mean, it's it looks
It's
it
up
looks
your alley.
it looks pretty simple, but it's very much Dragon Quest. So there's not a whole lot to sell me on that because I like the Dragon Quest world and it's got the same music as Dragon Quest 11. So I mean, that's already pretty like little nostalgia bait there. Even though that game's not that old, but still, I like that music and it takes place in the. I think it takes place in the world of Dragon Quest 4 is where we're at for this. So it's kind of similar
Okay.
to Builders, where it's like an alternate timeline based around like a story that everyone kind of knows. And the main character, the Dark Prince Sorrow, is he's like he's like the kid of one of the main villains, I think, from 4.
Okay.
And you basically get cursed to where you cannot like you can't attack monsters in Dragon Quest. Is basically how it works. Like your dad exiles you from the kingdom, and he curses you to where you cannot strike another like monster in the Dragon Quest world. So you basically have to recruit monsters to fight for you because you can't fight anybody. So that's kind of like the story of that. And the idea is to go back and get your revenge on your father and all that shit. And I played past where I was in the demo, which kind of sucks. You do have to play through the demo part again, but I did get all my guys back from the demo, so I got all my monsters that I caught in the demo. Because once you get to the point where you have like kind of your own little like monster ranch where you keep them all at, you get all your monsters back that you caught in the demo. So that's kind of cool. And I didn't realize that it puts a little check mark next to every monster that you already caught, kind of like a Pokemon, so you can keep on, so you can have an idea like who you've caught or not. And I guess there's also, I haven't gotten to this yet, but there's kind of like a combination thing that's similar to like the Shin Megami Tensei games where you take two Pokemon and put them together, or not Pokemon, you take two Dragon Quest monsters and put them together and they'll make a stronger monster, and you can take some of the powers from each of those monsters and carry them on to the monster that you made out of the two of them. That's a huge part of like it's in Persona, it's in Shin Megami Tensei, like it's been a part of these games for years. So you could kind of say you would say the Dragon Quest Monsters games are probably a little bit more like Shin Megami Tensei than they are like Pokemon. And Shin
Okay.
Megami Tensei is actually older than Pokemon even. So, just and also in the fact that you can control like you have a party of four that you use at all times, where Pokemon you just have one and sometimes maybe two. You know, so you have a party of four. It's actually kind of a lot like this cartridge changer. You have your four in the front that are fighting, and then you have the four in the background. But your four in the background also get experience, so that's cool. So it makes it easy for you to level people up in that way. You can keep them in the back, and they'll level up whether they're actually fighting or not. And as you level up, you get little points that you can put into different, to like their different attributes, like their HP or their MP or their spells or that sort of thing. It's kind of how it works. And there's like there's a coliseum where you fight other Dragon Quest monsters and blah blah blah. It's it was one of those things. It got like no reviews, so I was waiting for it to get reviewed by somebody before I got it. And also I just got Mortal Kombat and I really wanted to play that, so I was like I'll just play Mortal Kombat for a while. But yeah, I just started getting into it last night, and I was like, yeah, this is cool so far. Once I got to the first world, because you warp from world to world, and all the worlds are really different. Like they look different. Like I'm kind of in this like Halloween looking area that looks kind of like it looks kind of dark, and it's like it's got like the red sky, and there's like a storm going on, and there's it's kind of where all like the skeletons and like the demon monsters and stuff like that are. So I like that shit a lot. So I was like, oh, this is cool. So I've just been trying to, obviously go and catch all the ones that I can see. And there'll also be really giant monsters that you'll see where they'll just like one hit you, just destroy you all, where you have to come back later. Like I haven't been able to touch any of those guys yet. I've seen two like mega monsters and they just killed me in one hit. So I'm like, well, all right. Well, I'm going to go I'm going to leave this person and go elsewhere. Try to find somebody else cuz I can't because you have to in order to catch them, you can either like they can either join you after you beat them, or you can do this thing where you like try to scout them, and it'll show like your attack power or whatever, and that'll give you a percentage, and they might join you, they might not. But the big monsters, you have to defeat them first before you can even try to catch them. And I'm nowhere near defeating them in any way. Like like I said, they just one shot me. So, but there's some cool ones in there. But yeah, that's what I've been doing.
These are remakes, right?
What?
They're remakes, right?
Oh, this game? No, this isn't a remake. This is a new game. Dragon
Oh,
Quest
they are new
Monsters.
games. Okay.
Yeah, this is a brand new game. But it is it's a sequel of sorts to the old Dragon Quest Monsters. But this one is new. It's completely different than the old Game Boy or DS ones or anything like that. It might have been a 3DS one too. But yeah. But I'm excited to play that more, obviously, because I like Dragon Quest stuff. And if they keep putting out a new Dragon Quest game every year, I'm not complaining.
Well, I know it's a little earlier than we would in the scheme of things, but do you mind if we take a break since my cats are
Are you
being a
cats?
little annoying? Yeah, they're restless. They want fed.
Okay, sure.
So let's take a quick break and we'll come back and discuss the things I've been playing this week.
All right.
And we are back.
My my Genesis just like stopped working over here. I mean,
Really?
it's like on, but it's not. I don't know what's
It looks
happening.
like it's working.
This is my Super Nintendo now. I switched it over to the
Oh,
Super
so is
Nintendo
that
one.
what happened earlier when the signal stopped and it turned to static?
Yeah, like
I thought
it's
maybe you like accidentally hit a button on a remote or something. That's usually.
no, it's my Sega Genesis is like turning on, like the light comes on, but it's not going to the TV. So I hope it's
There's
not.
only the one output, right? Just the one, like.
Yeah, I have it going. I have it going directly to the TV. Like it's not going through a. I just have it going through the like coax in the back. So
Mhm.
it's weird. I hope it's not broken because I haven't
Well, I
had it.
hope.
Haven't
Well,
had it for
are
that
you
long.
going through the coax with your SNES, or are you going through art like?
No, the SNES is through like a AV.
Because it might be your coax itself, which
It's
I
like
hope
an eight.
not. But
I mean, I barely used it. This is like the first time I've used it for anything, and it's worked fine for the Genesis. But I don't know.
I've had like one of my old TVs, the
I guess I could
front.
try. I could just try like because I have the AV plug for the Genesis too. I can just try that and see if it works
That would
different.
be a good troubleshooting
Because I have
thing.
a couple different. Yeah, I got a
I would
couple.
actually rather your Genesis be broken than the TV, though. To be honest.
My TV's working fine. Yeah, I hope so.
Well, as far as like, I mean, the
Yeah, because
plugins,
it'd be hard to
because
get a different
it
one, right?
limits your options exactly.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping that the coax was still working because I was hoping to eventually fix my VCRs and watch some tapes in here.
I mean, if nothing else, the VCR is your
I guess
converter
they can go
from
through AV too.
yeah AV to coax.
Yeah, well, I mean they can go to AV to AV. Like this is one of the newer. It's one of the newer like tube TVs, so it has like a S video in.
Oh, it has S video.
Yeah, so
Nice.
it's nice. Like that, it was my mom's TV, and I liked it a lot. So I was glad that she gave it to me because it's a flat screen. It's a tube screen, but it's a tube TV, but it's a flat
I'm
screen.
gonna have to send you this picture of
So it's really cool.
the person who were like where Sean and I are having our wedding. Their property, like essentially, they're like a kind of a music promoter on the and like host. Like that's just one of their side hustles, but they make music and they have a they make like more like ambient like stuff, I think, but they have a lab and inside that lab, which is like basically practice space, but they call it a lab. There's like at least 10 there's at least 10 tube TVs all stacked on each other that they've used for different projects throughout the years. So I'm just like, and I got a picture of it. I'll send it to you.
Oh, that's kind of like I told you the theater that we like to go to, the Alamo Draft House. They
Yeah.
have they have a whole bunch of tube TVs stacked on top of each other because they have like this.
Are they on?
Yeah, they're on.
They're functional.
They're on, and they're always playing things. They're playing old, really old, weird trailers and stuff like that,
So
or
cool.
they'll show like the Super Bowl Shuffle. Like I've seen that a lot, like the old Chicago Bears Super Bowl Shuffle, or they'll play like old or like old like aerobics videos and stuff like that. But they have like this. Yeah, I can't really see it. Well, I can kind of see it, but they have like this bar, this like VHS themed bar, and it has a whole bunch of like tube TVs. Like I think it has like a bunch of them stacked on top of each other, like in the corner, and they always have shit playing through it, which is cool. So if I had more
I've
space,
got two little
I'd
ones, but I
collect tube.
want a functional like mid-sized one, which you were you did give me that one from just his grandmother, but it broke.
Yeah, it didn't work. We never told you
And
that.
everything I read online about it was like, get rid of it. You can't fix it
Yeah,
based on the sound it was making.
sure. I like this one because it's not very big and I can carry it myself. Because you know those TVs can get really heavy, and this one's small enough that I can actually move it myself.
That
So
one's really nice because it's got a
it's
built-in
nice.
VCR that works.
Yeah, it's nice to get a smaller. It's nice to get smaller ones because those things can be really heavy, and you don't want, in case you want to like move it on your own. It's nice to have one that you can move on your own.
I agree.
But all right, we're back. What else? What else? Let's talk about more of your games on here.
Sure, yeah, I could talk a little bit about what I played this week. I didn't, I feel like I've been saying this more than I care to lately, but not gaming as much this week. Just kind of a busy week, but I played a little bit more of Dave the Diver just because I really into that post game stuff. And to be honest, like sometimes when I'm playing it, I'm just like, I feel like I should be playing something else because at this point, it's just I'm addicted to the systems or whatever, addicted, whatever you want to call it. Like I like the systems, but it's gotten almost joyless. Like I'm like, if I don't do this, then I'm missing out. So I got to make sure I collect all this stuff, and it's reminding me of people that play like Candy Crush that have to like check in on every day to make sure they get their rewards or
Oh
whatever.
yeah, yeah.
And in that way, you're kind of anchored to the game, even if you're like it's a joyless experience. You just feel like uh, you're essentially like the long and short of it is like you feel like you're wasting your money because you're not doing what you should do, which that's a kind of a lizard brain way of looking at it, but that's kind of how I feel about it. And I mean, ultimately, a lizard brain is what makes you addicted to a game usually. So I don't know. I mean, it's a great game, but I gotta back off of it. I was trying to save up enough money to be a millionaire just because I did that in Stardew as well. Once I met my goals, I'm like, well, now I'm going to be a millionaire because why not? And save up a million, whatever in game units is. And so I got up to like, I mean, I wasn't even to like halfway there, but I was like 300 something. And I went into the farm and I accidentally bought like thousands of this one kind of seed. I didn't realize it. And I spent all my money on like green bean seeds or something. So I've got like thousands of those. So I'll have green beans for, the foreseeable couple of centuries, but
In case anybody wants a green bean nigiri, like sometimes they make those ones with like vegetables and shit in them, which
well,
I
the one
never
of
get.
my highest priced items on Dave the Diver, my custom items that I learned the recipe for, and then I like elevated it all the way to the top with research is vegetable sushi, which sells for really high. And I'm just growing those veggies in my garden, but essentially like there's this character in the game that is a vegetarian but loves sushi, so you got to make vegetarian sushi, and it
Oh, I
becomes one of
guess
the
yeah,
most popular items in the game.
sure. For
Or
yeah,
as a restaurant.
I'm not trying to downplay vegetarians or anything like that. I'm just not a big fan of veg. Well, actually, I guess there's those pickled radish ones that we get that are really good. So I mean, it depends on what kind of roll you're getting, I
Yeah,
guess.
I prefer fish in my sushi because like kind of in my head it's synonymous with sushi, but um I mean I would try a good veggie roll if someone made it for me. I wouldn't pay money for it.
The pickled radish one is actually really cheap too, that we get normally. It's much cheaper than,
I
you know,
do love pickled radishes
your rolls
a
that have
lot.
like a bunch of shit in them. So most of the time, the ones that are just only have vegetables and stuff in
It's
it
like
are a lot.
daikon, or is it actual radish?
I don't know.
I mean, they're both radish, like the members of the same family, but daikon's like a much larger, I'd say more
Yeah,
neutral flavor
yeah,
as opposed to like the red radishes we get here.
yeah. It's probably the daikon one. I don't know, but either way, it's delicious.
But yeah, anyway, Dave the Diver is just, I mean, I can't recommend that game enough
Still playing it.
as
Did
being
you
a great just time sink if you like the systems.
side note? I guess this we probably won't get to news or anything this time, but uh, Mr. Keeley he responded to the Dave the Diver thing. Did you see that
I
online?
didn't see the discourse of whether or not it was an indie game.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. Like he was just basically like, "Well, it looks like an indie, so it's an indie
I
to
mean,
me."
that's it. Like
You know,
aesthetically, it's an indie game. Like
that's kind
a
of
lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
a lot of terminology over time adapts across the spectrum and just in language in general.
yeah.
Like I saw a quote from Taylor Swift or something, and I don't know if it's just something.
About Dave the Diver. Is she playing that game?
It's not about David Diver, but they were like, why do you think people are connecting so much with this song that you wrote this long ago or something? And her response was like, there's this whole punk goth movement happening right now where people are just wanting honest I don't know. And it was just weird because it was like, I don't know what that has to do with the quality of lyrics or the of Taylor Swift lyrics. Like that's more of a style thing. Like granted, like at the time it was a music went along with it, but it's far removed from the music anymore.
Hmm.
So it's not like a moment in society. People are just like dressing goth more, I guess, but like I don't think it has anything to do with them wanting to go back to some old school Taylor Swift lyrics. I don't think that's part of the aesthetic. I mean, Bela Lugosi is still dead, but he wasn't a Swifty.
Don't remind me. I
Sorry about that.
cry about it daily.
Sorry. But
Go back and watch my 1930s Dracula DVD, which is right outside the store. It's over there.
Man, I successfully went on a really nice tangent there because I don't have a lot to talk about otherwise besides and I was kind of hoping John would be here right now, but maybe I'll mention again later once he shows up. But John sent me a gift card for my birthday, which was this past week. I think we mentioned it last week, but that's why I was up hanging out with Trey and Jess, and Shauna came up with me, and we went and we saw some pretty good music. I will say it's some of the
We did, yeah.
best music I've seen in a while live. Like as a show, most of the bands were pretty awesome, and like yeah, I mean they were all good, but yeah, I do feel like in retrospect, I did feel like I was expecting more from one, but it doesn't matter because they're touring bands and they
That's all right.
you got
We don't have to call them out. It was a good it was a good show
it was a
regardless.
good show, and also I want to acknowledge like touring bands are essentially going through hell. Like it's like when you go on vacation and you just want to go home, but like they're doing it for their job. And they're
Oh,
just like,
sure, yeah.
oh, I and they're just doing the same thing every night and they have to feign like they care even if they feel like shit
Oh, sure, yeah.
or
That's why
whatever.
it's like yeah,
So
you can get different yeah,
like
when
I'm even talking like so Trey and Shauna, I don't know who if y'all like did that together, if it was just you, but asked the main act to wish me happy birthday, which
oh,
was really nice.
that was just me. Actually, that wasn't even I didn't even try to do that. That just happened.
Okay.
I just got up to go to the bathroom and there were
To
two
me it had
people.
a very like I don't know, and not to say I didn't appreciate like the entire thing. I was super duper happy when the main artist who is Jer, uh well known as a Ska network on YouTube. If you want to look that up, you can fall into your hole of Jer.
I mean they do play a lot of Nintendo covers. Like I
They
look
do.
like the Wii
They have an
Shop
entire
like the Wii Shop theme and a
they have
bunch
an
of like
entire
Animal
Animal Crossing
Crossing
album.
and a bunch
Yeah.
of stuff. So it's definitely Nintendo related.
I think it's called Ska Shores or something like that. It's a really, really good Animal Crossing cover album. I love it. But yeah, so Jerry like wished me happy birthday on stage and like I was like super duper like stoked about it. And then I ended up buying a record and they signed it for me and stuff. But I don't know. Part of me was still just kind of like because I follow them on Twitter and it's just like I feel like they're exhausted with especially like the standard like cis white male expectations of music and stuff. And like part of me was just like, I mean, not to say like Jared knows my sexuality or whatever. I don't know. Part of me was just feeling a little guilty. Like I
It
gotta
wasn't
say,
even
like I gotta say happy birthday to this white dude. You know what I mean? Like I'm
well.
probably reading too much into it, but
Yeah, let me tell
there
you
was a
about
little guilt there.
let's say let me tell you about how it happened. It wasn't even I didn't even ask him to do it. Basically, I was going to the bathroom and
Them.
there were two people from the two bands that had played before. There was like there was a person from Vile and there was a person from Arcadia Gray like standing next to the merch and I said, "Hey, both of you were really awesome tonight. I came out here for my friend's birthday and it's been a really good show." And they said, "Do you want Jared to wish them happy birthday?" And I said, "Sure." And that's what happened. So I didn't actually
Okay,
ask
well
them
then never mind.
specifically.
I probably overthought it.
I didn't actually specifically say, "Hey, can you do this?" No, they. I just talked to
Yeah.
them and I just said that I was here. I was like, "Oh, it's my best friend's birthday, and we came out here to see these bands, and you're really cool." And they're like, "Oh, do you want Jared to say something to him on stage?" And I was like, "Sure, if I was like, sure, if it's not a big deal." Like, I didn't want to be, I didn't want to be like, "Hey, you have to do this" or whatever. I wasn't trying to like pressure him into do anything.
I don't think it was like
They
that.
just offered to do it, so
I
I
think
was
I
like,
read
"Yeah,
too
why not?"
much into it because
Yeah.
these are, once again, like, well, I don't know, once again, but maybe I've mentioned it to you, but I haven't said it on the show. These are just artists that I've actually follow, like, I don't know what they call it when you're like, you feel like you're parasocial. There we go. Like, you've got a little parasocial with some of
Oh,
these
you
artists.
like follow all of their tweets or
I
whatever, and
mean, I'm
feel
not
like they're
intentionally, but it's showing up in my feed.
yeah, you feel like you're close to them even though you aren't actually close to them, which is they made a whole horror movie about that called Ingrid Goes West. Watch that movie
Which
sometime.
I try not to be that way. And I
It's
try
about the
to, like, I
scariness of
didn't,
online. But no,
I didn't
you're not stalking them. You're not trying to go wherever they go.
exactly. But at the same time, it's like, I am in a bit of awe, you know, no lies, like seeing
Sure.
Jer and Jared mentioning my name, like I totally like I know I blushed. I like had to cover up my face like the booze and Mario. Like I felt so I mean, it was a good feeling, but it was also like I just don't want to like I just would kind of be rather be by myself at this moment in time. But yeah, maybe that's just how I interpret it. And ultimately, it's like I just really respect that person, and I think they have a lot of like I don't know. They're very eloquent with what they say, and I agree with their politics. And I just and the kind of artists they give that through their like touring and stuff that they end up giving like a spotlight to. I highly respect that person, like not just as a musician, but like as a person. That they are really cool. So yeah, it was a bit of a fanboy moment for sure. But yeah, Jared wished me happy birthday and signed my record, and it was great. And that record is now like displayed on our wall. Like that's part of our decorations. So it was a
Nice.
good experience.
Yeah, that record that I got is not displayed because our record display fell down twice because from trying to put records on there. So
We've
we've
had that happen as well, but
we've retired the shelf because we were both afraid of our records getting hurt that were falling
I
down.
think so. So we have these like acrylic holders that just hold literally like one vinyl. So those have fallen, and we have had a vinyl fall before, which wasn't great, but it didn't damage it, luckily. But
Yeah.
otherwise, like luckily, like they'll start to sag, and then I'll like replace the adhesive or whatever, and it's
Yeah,
all good.
they're just like wooden shelves that we would use for amiibo and stuff like that, but they work well
Mm-hmm.
for records. We just you normally you screw them in the wall, and we just didn't want to we didn't want to put a whole bunch of holes in our walls since we just got a house and all that. So
Yeah, you don't want the landlords to get pissed at you.
we're the landlords, but
Oh wait,
we're trying to we're trying to not destroy everything here.
I
So
get you.
that's kind of where it is. But the other stuff is still holding, thankfully, and those are higher than the other ones. So hopefully they don't fall because there could be more damage with that. But you got a gift card, and I remember when you were here, you were talking about using it for something. And did you?
Yeah. And
I
so I kind
do
of
it.
implied that earlier, but when John did send me a gift card, which led to my entire, you know, tangent there about birthday stuff. But John bought me a gift card to the eShop. Thank you, John. Wish you were here right now to tell you about it, but you'll hear this. Also, I've thanked him personally otherwise. But
Some-
yeah, got me a gift card that ended up being coincidentally the exact cost of Live Alive on sale. Live Alive was on sale for 35 or 34.99 or whatever.
I was surprised that you went for that one because I wasn't sure.
I've wanted to own that
So you
since
didn't
it
seem
came
that
out. I've
interested in
just
it.
never well, no, I've been highly interested in it. I just never been like throw my money at it interested. So
Did you?
it was like almost immediately the first thing I thought of, and I was like, I'll pay the extra money. And then I kind of like talked about it a little bit with you, and then when I actually went on the eShop, when I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna do a little shopping. Because like my original aim was to like, maybe I'd get Live Alive and I'd pay some extra money, but also like maybe I'd pull a John and just try to get as many games as I could for my cash, which I did forget to mention something else, which I'll get to eventually. It's something John would have wanted me to buy that I ended up not having to buy that I actually played through and beat. So
Mm.
why am I leaving this out? I forgot it in my notes. But anyway, uh yeah, Live Alive was like 35, and that was the card John sent me, So with my gold points, I didn't even have to pay tax. I just got it.
You didn't get Turok 3? You could have got that for $30. I'm kidding. I know you probably wouldn't get that, but that's out now. Turok 3. You can actually buy all three of them for $60, which is pretty cool too. And I think it's on sale for 50. Just throw that in there in case I forget about the Turok news later.
Sure. Yeah,
I didn't.
I'm just like super stoked for these obscure games that maybe didn't pass like some kind of preliminary test market back in the 90s or whatever. Like, why did we never get Live Alive? Probably because of some sort of uh, test audience or something.
Well, I mean,
But
there were a lot of like Square games for Super Nintendo and Super Famicom at the time. Maybe they just I think they just maybe didn't think it would do as well as the other ones. It's also like a lot shorter, I guess, than the ones that did come out here.
it is.
Did
And
you?
it's like, it's very like unique in how it's laid out. Like, I
Oh
guess
yeah.
like having
Well,
played
It's
Octopath and
Octopath
stuff.
before Octopath.
Exactly. Yeah. Having played Octopath, I've seen this formula to a different extent. But this is like, it's literally like whatever, however many characters there are. Games. They're individual games, and I don't know whether or not they link up. I haven't played enough to know. But I did like at the top of the show, I was like saying a whole bunch of bull crap about like what my quotes would be, but I've been mostly playing the prehistoric one. I'm like, well, might as well start at the beginning.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was where I left off. That was the one I was on. I was going to ask you if you had played the one with the one with like the giant robot, because that one I loved that one so much.
Is that the near future or the distant future?
It's not the one you could play on the demo. Like I know the one at
Okay,
the
so I think it's the
you
near
play the little
future.
robot guy.
No, I started the
Yeah.
near future uh gameplay, which that's another thing. So at any point, as long as you've like, well, you don't even have to save. You can switch between the stories at
Oh,
any
oh
point,
yeah, yeah. I didn't even think about that. I don't think I
and
did that.
that's really
I would just
cool.
go through because I think I started with the Western one just because I like the idea of turn-based combat with guns. I think it's
Have you
funny.
played all the way through it?
No, I haven't played it through all of it. I played through the three story. What I played through the Western one, and I played through the robot one, which I loved. It's basically like an anime with a, where you get in a giant robot and you fight other giant robots. Like,
I would
it's
say I've been playing the
like
like the
kaiju
distant
fighting
future where
with
you're
big
the
robots.
tiny, where you're like the sentient robot, but you're like a
Yeah,
utility
I
robot.
didn't play that one. That one was on the demo. I know you
It's
played
kind of
that.
like a murder mystery.
I played the Japanese one, which we got lost. I remember Jess and I were trying to play that, and we got kind of lost because we didn't. It's like kind of a maze in the castle, and we didn't know where to
Hmm.
go. So I didn't go back to that one. But I played through the Western one. I played through the whatever the near future, the one where the guys on the motorcycles and you get in the giant robot and they have the anime theme song and all that. It's really cool. And then I played
So
through
there's like a
like
termination to each
yeah.
story, like where you just like get to the end of it, and it's like the
Yeah.
end.
Oh yeah, and
GG.
I played the wrestling one too. There's another one where you're like a wrestler and you go up
Yeah.
against all these other fighters and there's like it's obviously Hulk Hogan, but his name's like Randy Rogan or something like that. It's obvious who they're supposed to be. But yeah, I was curious what you thought of the combat because it's almost kind of like a strategy game in a turn-based game.
Very,
Because
very
you got to move.
weakly so.
Yeah, it's like a very simple. It's kind of like a simplified Fire Emblem. Uh,
Highly simplified.
hidden inside of a turn-based game, kind of. Well, I mean, when you get to the fighting one where you have to do, it's very important where you place the character and all that,
Okay.
because the whole strategy is
Well, I
very
meant mostly, like I said, I
you need
mostly
to
play
have
the
it.
prehistoric mode. So
Yeah.
I'm literally playing like the base where, and that's like the joke is like, there's no, that was my joke at the top of the show. Like, there's no speaking, like, you don't see it any text other than,
Oh
the
yeah. Yeah.
instructional text they might have put on its quality of life. But I wouldn't be surprised if the original version had like no text here
Yeah, I really liked
because
that part of it. That I like that there's like
they're literally
no
just like
dialogue.
grunting and pointing and like, so you're like I mean, essentially, it's like if Ga from Final Fantasy VI was combined with whatever her name is from Chrono Trigger,
Oh yeah, I know
Isla,
I know who you're talking about.
Ayla.
Something like that. Yeah.
It's like those characters were combined, and then you have basically like a gorilla that follows you around or a monkey or I don't know. He's just like he's there to throw some shit. You can't equip him with anything, at least not initially. Eventually, I was able to put some like clothes on him, but he's like he'll just laugh when you die, and that'll be like it'll be like game over, and you'll like die with him laughing at you. Like he throws poop, you throw poop, you fart. There's farts, there's
Oh,
all
yeah.
this stuff. Like they really kind of lead into the caveman
And
humor.
there's a lady in there too, right? Because there's a lady that you're trying to find, or have you
It's
got?
very Joe and Mac because you do eventually find like a whole like cachet of ladies, but they're gorilla ladies, and your
Oh,
gorilla guy like leaves you alone. Like you have to go like wrestle him away from the females.
because I remember there's like a particular lady that you're looking for, and
Yeah,
you end up like hooking up with her, and then you get expelled. Like maybe you're not there yet. That was where I played last, where I got like
I mean
expelled.
she keeps kissing me, but I haven't hooked up with her, so to speak.
Well, something or you whatever something happens to where you partner up in the game, and then you get expelled and you're on
Oh
your
yeah,
own.
yeah. No, that has happened.
That was
That
where I
has
was.
happened.
Yeah, because I think you
No,
do
no,
get.
I've got a
I think
little. I'm past that part.
I think you do actually you do hook up in the end of the story. I remember that. Like you do get laid. That is like how it ends.
It's
Spoilers.
kind of the whole
I
aim
heard
of.
it from a podcast, but yeah.
Oh, also forgot to mention you literally hit a button to like sniff, and you follow like smell clouds to like
Oh yeah,
fight
I remember that.
enemies
Yeah.
or to like find items and stuff.
It looks pretty though, doesn't it? Like with that
Oh, it
HD
looks
2D,
great.
like looks really really good, and
No,
it's very cinematic too. Like
I
it
like
has
this game
really
a
cool
lot.
like cutscenes.
I wanted to say, well, I wrote it here. Um, what did I say? Oh, there's really good music. I like the music a lot. It's very much like golden age of Square music. So you're not getting Chrono Trigger level music, but it's Final Fantasy VI adjacent, I'd say.
I mean, it's
It's
Yoko
nice.
Shimomura though, who did the soundtrack to Super Mario RPG as well. So I mean, that music is nothing to scoff at.
No, you're right, and that's right as well. Like it's a little like weird and goofy, like
And she did. I mean, she did the remix of this just like she did the remix for the Super Mario RPG stuff. So I thought the soundtrack was very good. Like I liked it a lot,
and I've only
especially the stuff for the robot shit later.
I need to check that out a bit. I haven't gotten to that part yet, but I wanted to say like one thing I'm really impressed about is how emotive the characters are, and if they're I don't think they probably recreated like too much animations. They're probably trying to stay true to it. But yeah, the characters like as little tiny like chibi sprites are still very animated and very emotive of what they're like trying to express, and I think even more so than what I saw in like Final Fantasy 6 or
Oh yeah,
4 on the SNES. Like it's wonderful, and I really enjoy it. Like, and I think playing the primitive mode or the caveman mode is a great way to kind of experience this game because you wouldn't need to localize this particular chapter. That's pretty cool that it's universal that way. It's really trying to appeal to like the base instinct of what maybe we as modern humans can conceive the way like a prehistoric brain would work.
yeah. I think it's was it Megalomania? The song Megalomania was like a
Oh,
huge
John's here.
inspiration for Toby Fox for because I know that song is referenced in Undertale. So, but yeah, the soundtrack is really good. The game is good, and it is. There's a lot of expressions and whatever camera angles that you can do.
It's kind of funny. It's almost like John showing up just in time for me to talk about the other game I played all the way through and beat this week.
I know what that is.
Yes, you literally showed up just as I was about to start talking about it. Uh,
Perfect.
but just, shopkeeping style, do you need to like kind of talk about your stuff because you need to get out of here or?
Anyway,
I would like to talk about Super Liminal. I'm waiting to talk about this game with one of you
Okay,
guys for a
cool.
long time.
I
we
played.
we're at
So,
the end. We're at the
so
end of our we were at the end of our stuff anyway, so we can cut to the
okay.
topic whenever we get through this.
So
Sure.
real quick, before we get into it, I gotta say I'm gonna be speaking in quieter tones for this episode because I'm in a hotel room right now.
That's
I
fine.
just don't want to be waking anybody up, so
Well,
I will
you
sound like this.
your voice sounds fine on the recording here, so I got a good level from
Okay,
you.
cool, cool.
So this week, as I mentioned before, and now John's here. Thank you for the gift for the eShop credit. I use that to purchase the game I was just talking about, which was Live Alive. One of my
Nice.
first ideas of what I was going to buy was Superliminal. I got onto my PlayStation just like, pure happenstance and saw that
Yeah,
the game, one of the games of the month was Superliminal. I'm like, I just get to play it. Like that's
yeah. Just play
amazing.
it.
I just finally get to play it. And you know what? It
What's
was
that?
after I hung out with Trey and Jess after the show on, this past Thursday, the 30th of November. Uh
Hmm,
Sean and I hung out and then we, fell asleep, passed out, whatever you want to call it. And then the next day we left, but
I was gonna say you passed out here. That was
I
actually
definitely passed out.
I'll say while you were here, you passed out early, and then Sean and I talked about whatever until like five
She
in the
always
morning.
outlasts me.
So
It's one of the reasons I
yeah.
love her.
So I remember I think we talked about like Sticks and Journey and a bunch of other dumb shit, but whatever, we were wasted, so it was fun.
But anyway, the next day we got up and Sean had some stuff she needed to take care of. So we left, like people are going to do. They're not just going to live somewhere once they go there. We left and I was just like, what am I going to do? Like, I mean, I have tonight off. I'm just going to kind of like take it easy, maybe do some chores or whatever. And I got home and this is when I, was like, well, I've got that $35 from John to spend. And I had been talking with Sean in the car actually about it. And I think I'd also spoken with Trey about it the previous night. Like, what am I going to do? Like, am I going to pull a John and like get the most games possible? Because that was my original idea, and I thought you would really appreciate that. But then I was also
Thanks.
like, I really want, to get super liminal, and I found out I could just get super liminal. So since I could get super
Right,
liminal
perfect.
for free on PS5, I bought the game that I actually wanted that was on sale for $35, which was
It worked
Live
out. You got
Alive.
you got you got
So
both.
thank you for buying Live Alive for me. But I did
No
play
trouble.
super through Superliminal, and you know what? It's great. It's much better than I expected it to be. Sorry, John, not to say you didn't sell it well, but after playing like Quantum Conundrum and
Mm,
not even getting all the way through that, but just games that are like Portal adjacent, I just wasn't
yeah.
super keen on them. And there might have been another one I can't even remember,
There was that
but
color one, Chroma Gun.
yes,
I
that's
didn't
the
really get
one.
into.
And I have that on my
Oh, yeah,
Switch. So
I
yeah.
have that
I
game on
still
Switch.
have it.
It
Yeah.
was really cheap, but yeah, it wasn't great.
So I was just kind of like, what, Valve does this style well, and all these folks are going to try to ape off of it or whatever. But
Mm,
no, Superliminal was, there are elements at times where I'm like, okay, obviously they're like, implying Gladys, but at the same time,
yeah.
it's like we're referencing the greater societal understanding of who GLaDOS is, not like we're copying that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
almost like it makes sense in history to be like, yes, we get it. Like, and they might be very coy about it, but I do feel like they literally like reference GLaDOS at least once.
Yeah.
But I will
I
say,
think they tip they have.
one,
Yep.
so like I knew about like, perspective of size being a big part of the puzzles, which I would say is probably 60 to 70% of the game.
Mm,
But another aspect that I don't think you get to see as much in demos and stuff is the perspective based stuff where essentially things will materialize if you look at them from the right angle. And I thought that was a really cool thing to add because it's like all about your perspective, not like I don't know. It was kind of cool that it was literally like you might have to stack some things up to literally look at this certain space in the room and in the right
yeah.
way where you materialize a block, and then that becomes like your. And there was one where I like took a sign and then I like made it really big and then it illuminated the whole room because it was a giant light. Like there
Right.
was some really cool stuff they did in here. My favorite
It,
thing was like there's one where you like essentially think you're getting chased by a murderer the whole time, and you
mm,
run through this one area and you just see all these boxes that say die on a door. Do you remember
yeah.
that? And then you run up
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
diet soda.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah. That's,
they
That
stole
was
that.
so cool.
I was gonna say they stole that from The Simpsons. Where it
Did
says,
they?
well, it said like it was a joke where it said like die, but it was actually diet, and Homer's even more scared about diet than die, and that's funny.
I
That's the
remember
real
that
joke.
now. Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
all about like they do a really good job with how they I don't know. It's a very I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. Like it's like if someone made the Mario Maker level right, the Game Maker
Mm,
level right. Like this is like very meticulously crafted. They kind of know what you're gonna do, and eventually they try to, you know, send you for a loop. Like, no, you're just gonna fall down a hole if you do this, and then you're gonna have to use. I really kind of thought it was cool that they
mm,
use like you have to learn to like the background contrast is how you're going to see the things that get you where you need to go, and
mm,
it just kind of like it teaches you to pay attention to the background just as much as like whatever's in front of your face, because the background might illuminate literally in some regards or also figuratively and like perspective based. I It was a fun game, and
yeah.
right after we got home from Chicago, Sean and I like came home and we like hung out with the cats and stuff, and we watched some TV or something. And Shauna fell asleep, and I loaded up this game because it was free, and I'm like, I finally get to play this, and like on the PS5, surely there won't be any sort of like graphical hitches, which there were not. And I played all the way through it in one sitting. And I don't know how much time I spent. It was probably 3 to 4 hours, maybe. But I literally just
Sounds
sat
about
there.
right.
Like I would get up and do other things, and pause the game. But I was just like, this is my Netflix binge for the night. I'm going to play through this game. And it was fun. And I highly recommend it. Play it.
I think I had a similar experience with the first go around where I think I did it in like two sittings, but it's just like uh, perfect. I think it was perfect length, like in and out. You can get into this game in an evening or so, and it's. I feel like they probably have trimmed uh, three times as many ideas as they had. Like they picked the best ideas. I did not think there was really one in the bunch that was like a dud or unoriginal or repeating something that they did already or whatever. And then I think, like you, I thought um, the game when I first played it maybe was going to be like a pale Portal, but even Portal being great, I was like set up for like okay, I'm I'm up for a pale Portal. A pale Portal might going to be good. I think this game like approaches being as great as Portal, and it's something different. Like it just kind of has the same sort of sense of humor, the same idea of um, first person puzzle.
There's definitely a sentient
And
AI
that's
that's sort of
yeah,
holding you hostage, but
yeah, true.
it's not quite
And
as like neurotic or whatever as GLaDOS is.
there's themes of like going beyond the bounds of where you're supposed to be
Right. And
and
then
seeing what's
also
on the
like
other side and all that.
I kind of got a Cave Johnson vibe from the doctor that's
Dr.
contacting you
Glenn
through your
Pierce,
dreams. Yeah.
that's true. Yeah. And I think that the central idea that they use this of perspective puzzles and then other visual puzzles is very distinct from what Portal is. And it's like an exciting and unique game in its own right.
I mean, perspective is very important, and that's like ultimately that's what made me love the game, like because it's sure you're in a 3D space, but like your perspective is more important than the actual like 3D space. So like there was
Okay.
actually a couple of puzzles I was stuck on for quite a while where
Yeah.
I was just like, wait a minute, it's like I need to think of it, and I didn't like I never consulted the internet. I'm happy I
Mm.
didn't. I just like literally was running my head against the wall on a couple of these puzzles, but uh, and also this is a game that people should watch. Shauna was sleeping for a good portion of it, but
Yeah.
she did see me like finish out the game and like complete the final part. That final, oh my god, that final like home stretch of it is so cool. But
Yeah. Where it just goes a little haywire.
it's
Yeah.
it's it's definitely a take on Portal that
Yeah.
is different enough that I would say forget your quantum conundrums, forget your color foil or whatever that shit was called. Sorry, developer of that game. I don't remember what it's called. I actually own it. But no, play quantum or no, don't play quantum conundrum. Play Superliminal. I think it's probably the best Portal adjacent game you're gonna play. Short of
100%.
maybe loading up Narbacular Drop if you want to get classic.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. And
And
those like,
there's literally puzzles that are very like they might as well be Portal, but they're different
yeah.
because of how they approach the control and the perspective stuff. The perspective stuff is, you know, initially it's kind of like, okay, this is kind of like a cool gimmick, but yeah, by the end of the game, I just was very impressed in how it, maybe because I was playing on the PS5, but how
Mhm.
seamless a lot of stuff was functioning and how you're essentially a slight spoiler, but the computer is encouraging you to break the game. Like it wants you to break it, even though it's
100%.
pretending like it doesn't want you to.
I know. What are your thoughts on Superliminal Tree after hearing all that?
I've never played it.
Yeah, but
Um,
what do you think now that
oh,
we got two people who've played it? And
no, I'll play it someday. I got a lot of things to play, so
sure,
it's got to get in line behind every other game that came out this year, and then maybe someday I'll play it. I'm sure it's great. One of these days. when it's on sale and I have time. I'll get to it.
I think it's a good like treat it like you're like I said, treat it like you're watching that anime that someone keeps recommending to you, and you're finally just gonna sit down and watch that like 7 episode anime or
I got a
whatever.
list of those too. I still haven't got to.
But I'm just saying that's kind of how I felt about it. Like I was just like, I'm just gonna finally just sit down, kind of like get into this game and see where it takes me. And then before I knew it, I was like
Done with it.
planning on finishing it. Well, I it does let you. It kind of like subverts your expectations too, like in a bit where you think it's going to end way before it actually does. Anyway, mild spoiler, but I recommend this game. It's good. It was good. What, 5 hours probably?
Mm.
Maybe 5 to 6 hours, depending on how much you run your head against a wall.
Yeah, how quick you can understand the whatever the puzzles. Did you want to? I mean, did you want to mention the other game, or do you
I
want to
guess so. I didn't know if you had played it.
say no?
Did you try loading it up on the Japanese eShop? So
I
apparently
mean,
the
I've said before on this podcast how I feel about Jet Force Gemini, so I'm in no rush to play that game again because I hated it when I was 19 when I played it. So
well specifically you can play Jet Force Gemini, but it's called like Star Wars Kid, or I don't know, it's got some different name.
I wish it was called Star Wars Kid. That'd be
I
funny.
can't remember what the name of it is. It's got a different name in
But it's in Japanese, right?
Japanese.
Because it's on the Japanese
It's all Japanese, but
NSO.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's there's literally a different app you have to download called
Oh
the
yeah,
18
yeah.
plus NSO,
There's an
and that
18 plus
has
one now.
GoldenEye and Jet Force Gemini are the only two titles on it. But yeah, I downloaded that and I played a little bit of it, and mostly I was just impressed like how smoothly it runs. Controls, I need to change those.
Yeah, the
They're
controls
bad.
were real bad when it came
But
out.
I
I
but I
remember
also wasn't trying to play with an N64 controller either. I was just
that was
playing with my 8-bit dos. So,
Chris. Yeah, yeah.
but I might come back with the actual N64 like NSO controller I have. See if that's a little better, but I might end up remapping it like I did GoldenEye. But yeah, it was. I mean, it looks cool and the frame rate's great, and I imagine a lot of that has to do with it being a remastered version. But yeah, it looks great. I can't really follow it because it's all in Japanese, but it exists and I tried it. And anybody who has a Switch and has NSO can create a Japanese profile and get this game right now if you want.
They can try it too.
Yep. And I mean, it's a full game. It's just in Japanese, but it's there. And you can also play GoldenEye in Japanese if you really want to subject yourself to that.
Yeah, I'm sure that's fun.
I mean, it might be great if you read Japanese. But
So did they say for Japan instead of for England? When it's like for England, James, for Japan, James. No, I'm sure they don't change the actual.
they say for Nippon because
Yeah.
they stay like authentic. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the week for me.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, I know you've been very very busy, John. So
Yeah, I've been
why
playing no
don't,
games.
why don't we just jump to our topic for episode 400? And what I thought we would do, we do on a lot of our Patreon episodes, patreon.com/NintenDomain podcast. We do bonus shows where we do like ranking episodes where we talk about like our top 5, top 10 favorite, whatever things. And I thought we would do for this one, for a 400 episode, we do it like a regular one for everybody who's not on Patreon. We do our top 5 favorite Nintendo franchises that are not Mario or Zelda. And looking at all the different franchises that Nintendo has, maybe as a future Patreon episode, we could do our top 5 Mario franchises because there's so many fucking different franchises inside of Mario that it's like there's got to be
Yeah.
at least like 30 in there. Like
Yeah, I did find the
between like the sports titles and the RPG and like and Luigi's Mansion and WarioWare and like we could do our own top 5 just based on the
I'd say I also kind of just took it as
Mario
like
titles that are non regular.
so they're franchise made by Nintendo. Is that the specific,
Yeah, like
or just appearing on Nintendo consoles?
well, my rule was that they need to have at least more than 3 games or 3 games or more. So like
Right.
like Splatoon, Animal Crossing, like stuff like that. Stuff that
And
isn't
first party only.
yeah.
Oh,
So
first party only. Okay,
exclusives, Nintendo exclusives, and yeah, stuff that's published by Nintendo, like that
gotcha.
sort of thing. you've seen him, Star Fox, Kirby. I guess I would consider
I mean, you're listing them
Don-
all pretty much.
Donkey Kong could be not Mario because Mario's not in there. So, or John suggested like Smash Brothers could be away from the Mario franchise because everybody's in there, like that sort of thing.
Yeah,
So, are you wanna do you wanna
yeah.
start?
I'm gonna do mine because I don't have a whole lot of. I got to get going tonight. I got to
Yeah, I was gonna say.
what do
Well,
we
we
call
don't
time?
have. I
So
mean, we don't have that much time left. I wanted to wrap it up in
John, can you
the next
finally reveal that
the
you're
next
working
like
on the
30
sequel to
minutes.
300, which is called 400?
nice.
There was a sequel to
Yeah,
300.
Zack Snyder's 400. It's about our episode.
Yeah, I was
It's
gonna say.
actually Jodorowsky's 400.
I don't think we'll spend that much time on it. So can we just alternate and go through the five
Sure.
because we don't really need to
Yeah.
talk about it for that long. But you can start, John, with what your number five is.
All right. My number five is the Me games, the Me series.
Okay, interesting.
So I'm
Wow,
talking
it's all about
about,
you, huh?
So
yeah,
what? Yeah. So
it's
what
all
does
about
that?
me.
So what does that entail? I don't even know what that means.
So think of like, uh, well, that would be Wii Sports, the entire Wii series,
Okay,
um,
yeah. So like we play
Miiverse,
Wii Sports
Wiitopia,
Resort.
all
Yeah.
that, Pilot Wings Resort,
Mitomo.
um, Miitomo, all of it.
I miss
As
Mitomo.
Miitomo
it
was
was
the
enjoyable
was
for what
the
it was.
was
Yeah,
the like cell phone game, right?
Yeah, I still miss Mitomo.
self one.
It was a Tamagotchi
Yeah,
Life
these are
was the
games
one was the
of
one with the
varying
Mii's, right? On 3DS.
Tamagotchi
Mm.
life.
Yeah, that game was
Yeah,
fun. I
that
played
one
that.
too.
I got married to Jess
They're
on there
games of
before we
varying
actually got married.
quality. They might be of varying quality, but I think it's hard to deny the impact of the Mii's and how those spread if you were around in the gaming scene in 2006 to 2000. I don't know,
They're beyond
10 or
that.
so.
They're like I'm
Yeah,
getting like so
They
you
still
know,
exist. There's
not
the
to keep
Switch
repeating it.
Sports. Switch
I
Sports.
say not to
they're
keep
still
repeating
around.
it, but it was my birthday this past week, and a few people that wished me happy birthday on Facebook were using a very me like avatar,
Oh,
maybe like
I don't like those
or
avatars.
those avatars are
Yeah,
definitely an extension of like
Oh yeah,
the
100%.
for
me's.
sure.
Like the me
Yeah.
started that shit.
Yeah,
I do not like those avatars at
yeah. How
all.
No,
quickly
I
I
don't
remember.
either.
I've never made one for myself. Like my
Mm,
mom has
I
one,
don't
Nor
and
did
use
I.
those.
I'm like, hey, I hate the way these things look, but people like them for I don't know why.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are totally like a from the influence of me. I mean, there were even me's on Xbox. They had the fucking Xbox
Yep.
avatars and all that.
Do
Like
you
it's
remember how quickly they came
Sony did
out?
the same.
yeah. Did
Yeah.
they? I don't remember there
How
having.
quick was it that after the
Well,
Mii's
Sony was
happened?
like Second Life.
6 months. It was like 6 months or so after the Mii's came out. Six, maybe 8 months. I don't know. That Xbox debuted theirs, and I guess PlayStation had theirs, but I don't remember that one.
Well, the Xbox thing
They're
was like a huge
insignificant.
overhaul to the entire
Yeah,
OS
Yeah,
change.
Xbox did it. Well, I had a
yeah.
PS3, and
I might be wrong
I
about
guess I guess there
PlayStation.
was a PlayStation Home thing where you could make an avatar for yourself,
Yeah,
but
I'm thinking
PS
more
Home.
of like
but I
the
never
Second
played
Life
it.
stuff.
But I
I
never
think.
played it. But I guess it. I mean, people said it wasn't great, so I never even bothered with it. And I don't even know. I don't even know how to get it.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, I mean that's yeah, definitely. I guess that's still Mario adjacent because there's Mii's in Mario Kart. No, I'm kidding. That's fine. No, it's all good. Yeah, no, all those. Yeah, they need to bring back. What was it? Wii Play, the one that came with the controller. They should sell that one again. The one that had like
oh
the
yeah,
one where you ride the cows, or you like just tilt the remote and you just fit your person into different person shaped things. There was a WarioWare that used
I felt like
that
that
on
was a
there.
piece of shovelware that people just bought for the controller.
Oh, it
100%. Yeah,
was. It
I
was
would say, yeah.
totally. But the games on there were kind of stupid, but kind of fun. There was like a Duck Hunt ish game on there that was fun, where you shot like UFOs and stuff.
Wow.
I had a good time with it. I mean, but yeah, everybody bought it for the controller, obviously. But my number five. Let's see. I'm going to change it from my notes. Actually, you know what? There was a tie between three things. Let's see. Which one am I going to say? All right, let's go with my original ID. My number five is Splatoon, the Splatoon series, which we've all played. Splatoon 1, 2, and 3. There are three of them. They're incredibly hip. They make you feel like an old person while you're playing it. Not really. I feel included by the Splatoon world. But there's these little squid characters. You know what they are. You've played them. They got the squid. They got whatever. They got the Squid Fest thing where you vote on the
They ain't
different
just squid no more.
for it. Yeah.
Some are octopods and some are. Wait, isn't there a third thing? Clams or something?
I think. Well, I mean, there's. Yeah, I guess they did bring the Octo people in there now as well with the Octo expansion on Splatoon 2. But yeah, they just Nintendo did their own like third person multiplayer thing where it's like what if we were the bullets? What if you became the bullets? What if you could shoot the bullets in the ground and you could become them? Like I mean, it was a cool idea and super popular in Japan still. And when I
The
was trying
the
to
whole like your bullets becoming your mode
your
means of
mode of travel,
locomotion
yeah,
is fucking fantastic and
Yeah,
it feels so natural when you're playing it. Like they nailed something very special when they did that.
they
yeah,
splatted it.
they did.
They splattered the fuck out of
It's
it.
been something I've been talking about for years because I bought Splatoon 1 when it came out for Wii U, and I was like, this game is great. Well, I love the single player, but me, a person who really doesn't like playing multiplayer, it kept me coming back to the multiplayer because they kept adding stuff like every week or every 2 weeks, and they did really, really good about like bringing you back for shit, like adding new weapons and doing like yeah, doing the big events where you vote on the things and all that, and even like they even ended up doing like DLC and all that shit. And I remember I got Splatoon 1, and then I convinced Jeremy to get Splatoon 2, and then I convinced John to get Splatoon 3. So now we all have Splatoon in some way. But you should
Next
play
game
all.
we need
Actually,
a
I
new
think
friend.
I mean John has Splatoon 1 also on Wii U, but you
That's
should play
true.
it. Like I always tell everyone to at least play the single player. Like single player was awesome, and I bought it just for the single player because it reminded me of like Super Mario Sun or not Sunshine, like Super Mario Galaxy, where you do a thing and shoot to another part of the planet and do another thing. But yeah, really, really awesome and made by some people that I might mention later on this list. Suspense. But that's my number five.
We got Jimmy.
You're up.
Yeah, I don't know because at this point I'm like scrambling for what is my actual number five versus like something no one's mentioned yet.
Let's say
Hmm.
there's a lot of things we haven't mentioned yet. There's a lot more. I would say look at that link that John put on the Slack. There's a lot of
I
things on.
think a fair number five would be Donkey Kong Country
There you go.
because
That's
I
fair.
genuinely
Or
like.
Donkey Kong in general. You know,
Well, I genuinely like those Donkey Kong Country games, and I haven't played through like all the Donkey Kong Land games on Game Boy, which I know Trey's got a bit more experience with.
I played the first one and I liked it a lot. Like I mean, but I was in high school, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good.
But I like all three of the original Donkey Kong Country games, and I regard two to be like the white whale that I've still not fully finished without cheating. But between one and three, like one is like obviously the pilot episode, and then three is like the over bloated. It's
And
been around too long.
three is the J.J. Abrams ending.
Exactly. So two is,
three is the really bad episode 9, where it's
I
just like
believe
we
Trey
don't know
would
what to
agree
do
with
here.
me. I believe Trey would agree with me that two is the best one. Like I think the
Oh, for
balance and
sure,
everything
yeah.
about it is perfect. But like I really love three just because I've got memories attached to it and like including like crazy drug based hallucinations and stuff. So yeah,
I
Donkey Kong Country.
I tried it, but I mean, I have to recommend the Wii and the Wii U ones because those ones are much better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I have Tropical Freeze and Returns on my Switch. Actually, I don't have Returns. I don't
It
think.
Returns isn't on there, but it's on 3DS and Wii,
But
and it's on Wii
I
U
do
also.
have Tropical Freeze on the Switch, and I kind of just stopped playing it like I do a lot of games. But yeah, I do own that. But
Well, I got to tell
I
you,
just
since you liked a game called Super Mario Wonder, you should go back and play Tropical Freeze because they did all those things before on Tropical Freeze. Mario
yeah.
Wonder's finally just catching up to it, but it's all been done before.
I mean, it had a
Donkey
similar
Kong.
feel to it.
Yeah.
It's like what do they say? Like uh, Jungle Beat and Mario Sunshine had a lot in common.
I don't know about that. I mean, Jungle Beat was just a really weird. It was
I
a
just
really,
think that's
really
a
weird
lot of ideas
drum
from
based 2D
what they
thing.
wanted to do in Jungle Beat got like carted over to Sunshine or not Sunshine,
Galaxy, maybe.
Galaxy, yeah. Because
Maybe.
it was the same team.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, look it up. I've read an article somewhere about it at some point in time.
I'm just saying
I'm remembering it now, but I don't.
From playing Wonder, I do see a lot. I was like, this is a lot of stuff I already saw in Tropical Freeze. But they're catching up. They're catching up to the good 2D games. But
But
no,
without a doubt, like Donkey Kong Country was just like obviously it was like I don't know, like when it came out on Nintendo, I remember it being so hyped. Like obviously they poured a bunch of money into like promoting that game, and then when I did actually play it, I was just like, oh my god, I can't believe like in my head I was playing like the next console. I wasn't playing a game on the Super Nintendo, when I played it at the store and it just looked so smooth and fluid and three-dimensional and how the character
fully
models
rendered.
and stuff.
It
Yeah.
was fully rendered. Well, I mean, they needed a way to compete with PlayStation, right? To make a Super Nintendo
Well, this was before
look a better
PlayStation
system.
came out.
But I mean, Donkey Kong Country 2 was around that
Yeah.
time, right?
But I'm still thinking of the original Donkey Kong Country, just
Yeah.
the how amazing it looked and how it was just like I really did think I was playing the next generation of gaming because of I fell for the trick. They turned 3D rendered models into sprites, and they did a really good job with like having enough frames where it was really fluid and stuff. But they were essentially just doing some stop motion or whatever. But it looked
Taking some
great, and
JPEGs. Yeah.
it was amazing, and the music was great, and like they had like I had never seen like the lighting change in a single stage before,
Yeah.
and like they do
It
that
it
real
did.
early on. Like
But yeah,
it was a
that first
very, very, very like and in like the lack of UI, like the UI was off the screen. They
Yeah.
did a really good
It,
job making that game look like it was from another generation.
the first
visually,
one
it was revolutionary, and like
Yeah.
it seemed we've talked before about like the jump from to to N64 was like mind blowing, or the jump to virtual reality was mind blowing. I think that the jump to uh, Donkey Kong Country, that style of graphics, and at a time when I think it came out like a year before Toy Story, even. So we weren't even
Well, it's the
really
same year as
used to seeing
Super Metroid,
same year
at
as
least in
Super
the US.
Metroid,
Yeah.
but like as far as seeing 3D modeled characters animated, it was still new, and so it was a revolution, and to a lesser extent than the N64 VR, but it within the same realm, I would
I
say.
think yeah, they were
Like
learning like
something new.
not that presentation wasn't already a thing on the NES, but think about the NES. They wanted to extend that console as long as they could, so they kept putting more chips into the cartridges. Which, not to say they didn't do that on the SNES as well, but like this is about stretching out hardware, and like this was just like one of those cases where like they were stretching out the hardware that was already kind of outdated based on like PCs and stuff at the time. And like, how can we make a console look like it's something else? Well, we'll use one of those crazy PCs to make the graphics for the console. And they kind of like did a little trick, and it worked so good.
it did. But you know what else worked really good? John's number four. Move on.
This works really good.
That's my segue.
Funnily enough, this is probably my uh, one that is the biggest stretch and therefore does not work that well. But I'm going to call it the Extreme Sports Series. Yes, I'm going to lump together Wave Race 1080, Excite Bike, Truck, Bots, maybe even the Cruising Series. Anytime Nintendo just goes out on a limb
I'll,
where
I'll
they
allow it. I mean, even yeah, even like
spiritually,
I'd say like arcade sports, right?
sure,
yeah, Nintendo arcade sports. Yes, not a capital all caps like franchise, not not in that sense, but
But something in the spirit of like NBA
it's a
Jam and
spiritual.
Blitz, like it's like
Yeah,
they take a sport and they make it uniquely Nintendo.
uniquely Nintendo.
It's
I think
definitely
they
something I'd
should
like to see
make that.
come back for sure.
They should make like a I don't know, a series out of that, but Nintendo Sports series, Nintendo Arcade Sports series, whatever it is.
What if they did like
Put
Wii Sports or something?
yeah, something like that, like Wii
No, it would
Sports.
it would be really cool because yeah, like seeing something like Wave Race or like 1080 like as a standalone thing, you wouldn't really see that as much, but it'd be cool. It would be cool to I mean, I would love it if they would just. I mean, you already have Wave Race on the NSO. 1080 is coming soon on the NSO, but I would love to see at least something that put like the sequels of those together, like 1080 Avalanche and Wave Race Blue Storm,
Yeah,
would be cool. And yeah, it would be cool if like maybe they did a sequel. They could just put them all together. And it'd be cool if they could bring in that guy that did Cruis'n USA with Nintendo. Why not? Have him come back and do another one of those because
Eugene Jarvis.
I know he really wanted HD versions of those to be on Switch of the original like Cruis'n USA World Exotica, and I would buy that.
Which I was just playing. What's that game called again? Damn it, I feel bad. But I was just playing that the
Blast,
other. What?
Cruis'n
Cruising
Blast,
Blast.
Yes, I was just playing Cruise and
Tough fun
Blast the
game.
other night,
yeah,
and
that's a good
it's
game too.
fucking amazing. I love it. And I was actually explaining to Shauna like the whole timeline of this course is based on how I move through it, like the little thing on the YouTube bar that you're looking at. And it took a little while to kind of explain it, but I was like, I'm literally the little tab on the YouTube bar for this course.
Like you're going through it really quickly.
Well, no, like it
Like as far
the
as it
the
triggers
course
the events and
evolves
stuff.
around you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah. Did you try the thing where you like stop moving and the dinosaur stop and everything else stops
I
moving?
didn't do that, but
That because
but
that's
I was
crazy.
kind of sort of explain. I don't know. I was sort of
Oh yeah,
mansplaining.
how it's well, it's
Also,
so
just
that
watching
like
me play.
so all the big things always happen to where
Yeah.
you're. I played Cruise and Blast in Abu Dhabi. That was
Yeah, you're
first,
essentially
first,
the little,
first time
like
I
I
played
said,
it.
you're a little like the line on the YouTube video that's moving across.
Exactly, yeah. That I allow that. That's a great Nintendo franchise for number four.
yeah.
So my number four. I mean, I hope you haven't forgotten about it yet. It basically it did a lot for all of us. I have a poster based on it, like right over on the other side of this wall. We've done multiple episodes about it, but my number four is Animal Crossing, the Animal Crossing games for Nintendo. I mean, it got us through
Excellent.
2020, and you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Weirdly enough, this company that I'll talk about later also did this game with Nintendo, Animal Crossing. But yeah, 2020, Animal Crossing New Horizons. I put 500 hours into this game. That's the most hours that I put into any game.
I played that game like it was my job because I wasn't
Yeah,
employed because of the pandemic.
yeah. And just put 1,000 into it. Just got John levels on Mario Maker 2 on that, and just actually
It is absolutely my
started
number
playing it
one
again
game
like this
still.
week. Like started doing more house design stuff and all that. So
As far as my
the game
time in
that
the
keeps
game,
on
it's
giving.
still number
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I know I put over 500 hours into it. And as I was trying to go through this list, I'm like, I've always had like my own top 5 Nintendo franchise lists in my head, and I was like, but I want to try to be like, well, what was something that I really enjoyed a lot of, or like and I've been pushing Animal Crossing since Animal Crossing on GameCube. I've been trying to. I mean, John was there. I was like, you got to play this game. It's like way beyond everything else. Like it's so fucking great.
Oh
And
yeah.
finally, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Finally, everybody figured it out. Like the beauty of Animal Crossing. And who knows what will happen in the next Animal Crossing, but. I'm here for it. Like whatever the sequel is, I am interested because yeah, we had a lot of
I
fun with
foresee
New
some huge
Horizons.
update to the current game out of the blue in like 2 years.
There should be. Well, oh, it's a New Horizons on Switch too,
Yeah.
like what they did with
Yeah.
with New Leaf. But New Leaf was really really good too. So I mean, there's what like 5 different Animal Crossings or whatever. I mean, the DS and the Wii one I thought were so, but the GameCube, the 3DS one, the Switch one I thought were like really outstanding. Especially the Switch one where you could even like change the fucking land and you could like it's amazing all the stuff they ended up letting you do. And then they added like the house, the Happy Home Designer later and got to put Animal Crossing one in there because I've been simping for that game for years and I'm glad that people finally came around to it and finally got to experience the beauty of
Oh yeah.
KK Slider and all that stuff.
I mean, KK Slider's the true goat, even though he's a dog.
Yeah, what wonderful game series, Animal Crossing, number 4.
I feel good about that. My number 4 is something similar, deep in my bowels. It's not quite a number 2 just yet, but
Conker's Bad Fur Day.
it's fermenting. It's fermenting like a little WarioWare.
Oh,
Yeah,
crossover.
WarioWare.
I'll
I'd
I'll I'll allow it since Mario's not in any of the WarioWare games. It's not Wario adjacent or Mario
I
adjacent.
mean, I thought we would include WarioWare.
No,
I
WarioWare's good.
also have it on my list.
Okay. Well, let's say Mario is not in any of the WarioWare games, so yes, it is. It
Well,
is.
he is, but like in the well, actually, no, Wario replaces him. You're right. Like every
Well, I
time
guess
Mario.
in the mini yeah, well in the mini games there is like mentions of him or whatever, but as a
Yeah.
character he's not in there. Doesn't matter.
No,
WarioWare's great.
Wario always replaces Mario, even in the classical. Um, yeah, this game is this whole series, and I will say I've only played a little bit of the newest one at Trey's spot last week, but
Yeah, we did.
I do want to play it eventually. I do plan on buying it eventually, but
Gotta
just
find gotta find
a
your wrist
game.
straps.
I think it's a game that always pushes the hardware, and either it's there to highlight features of the hardware or it's there to push something. And I think in particular, WarioWare Twist is just like what I say.
You just said twist. I said
Oh,
twisted.
WarioWare Twisted, yeah, is like incredible because we didn't realize it at the time necessarily, but that was the prototype to the first Wii mote, the Wii mote, and it
Oh
was
yeah,
using
yeah,
that
for sure.
technology in a Game Boy Advance cart to kind of simulate like, let's see how much people like this. And it came out like I believe it came out after we've discussed this before. It came out after the DS was released and the DS Wario version had been released in the US. So we had still not seen the last Game Boy Advance WarioWare, which was just the second one on that system. But man, what a fucking incredible game. WarioWare Twisted is just, if you have a Game Boy Advance, you need to have that game. And it just utilizes technology in a great way. And like, you could really tell they were playing around with it. Like, there's all these toys you can unlock where you can do different things. And like, most of it's like, not that interesting, but there's actually like instruments and stuff where if you really wanted to, if you were like focused on it, and maybe someone's done it on YouTube already, but you could literally probably make an
Write songs or play
album
songs. Yeah.
and write songs based off the instruments that you can unlock in WarioWare Twisted. So yeah, WarioWare was always about, initially it was like, the whole like pretense is Wario is like trying to make a bunch of money, so he's just gonna make a bunch of really shitty small games instead of making one big nice game. And that is so, I don't know, it makes so much sense in modern times. But at the time I don't think shovelware was quite what it is now. And yeah, WarioWare was ahead of the curve and like made all these like crazy games where you're like picking noses and stealing toilet paper. I don't know what else you're doing, but like it's just all these scenarios. Like you're like, why am I doing this in a game? But at the same time, I'm so fucking glad I'm doing this in a game because it's so funny and so satisfying to like do these strange things that are all based on completing it within 3 seconds, like hitting a button or like a direction on the D-pad. But yeah, WarioWare has just been a great, like, between showing off the technology and then also just making it something that a spectator would be like, what the hell is even going on here? And they're going to
It
become
feels
interested.
like
Like
all of
it's,
this.
yeah,
It feels like all of the stuff that Nintendo deemed too weird for a bunch of other games, and they just someone at Nintendo just went in and picked up the scraps and threw them into one game in WarioWare.
We
and
did.
this is, yeah,
We
this is
we
the
did.
same team that did Rhythm Heaven, so like they do have a little bit of experience in like these like I don't know which came first, Rhythm Heaven or WarioWare.
I think WarioWare did. We did
WarioWare.
like way back in the back when we were in the two digits for our podcast. We did an episode about WarioWare, and the and I and I remember in the development of the Game Boy one, they were basically like putting ideas on post-it notes and just like lining a
Yeah.
wall with all these different ideas, and they just were just like, let's just be real crazy with it, and that's where we have the bidet game from the original one, where you just have to line it up with the asshole and just
Yeah.
shoot it right into it. Like
And it spins
that's
while you
in the
pinwheel.
original Game Boy Advance game. Yeah, it has the little butthole, like the little like pink star there that
Mhm.
just like, yeah. I mean, it's obviously a bidet thing because
You pick
bidets
a
are everywhere in
nose, you
Japan.
spray out a shitty asshole. Like
Yeah.
you're doing God's work, video game style.
And even later, like for me being an audio recorder, what was it? My favorite WarioWare is WarioWare. It will always be WarioWare Smooth Moves on Wii. But there's one where you have to like record somebody talking and you have to move with them with the microphone to like stay on axis and all that. And I
Oh,
was
I
like,
remember that. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, oh, there's a fucking
It's
audio recording game on here.
it's
That's
like
awesome.
luchador wrestlers, right?
Well, no, I mean that's the Luchador Wrestling one is a Rhythm Heaven thing. The WarioWare one is actually you're interviewing somebody and you have to hold the Wiimote and they move and you basically have to keep the microphone in front of them so you can hear them, and it's basically booming but as a video game, that sort of thing. But yeah, I think we should move on to John's next one after this, which is number 3.
Be number 3.
My number three is WarioWare.
Oh, there it is. Nice. So you're close on there, 4 and 3. Yeah, WarioWare's a great one. It's made my number 6 on here because my next three, they're ones that I will always forever stand for. Simp, whatever cool term it is to say things. Drink every time I say simp. It's only because Jeremy said it earlier. But my number 3 is F-Zero, the F-Zero games, which would normally be my number 2. But yeah, no, F-Zero games, I've loved them for years. F-Zero on Super Nintendo is still one of my favorite games of all time.
I mean, that was your first Super Nintendo game, right?
No, my first Super
No, that's
Nintendo
right. It was
my
like
first
some
Super
Marvel
Nintendo
game.
game was this game back here. Mortal Kombat 1 was my first Super Nintendo game
Yeah,
that I ever bought because I
that's too bad.
gave no shits about Super Mario. Because I had bad memories of it because my sisters were very mean to me and my other family members when I played second player and they'd pause the game and I died different times. Anyway, I didn't have great memories about the Mario games, but I wanted to play Mortal Kombat Super Nintendo, so I bought a Super Nintendo without Mario on it and I bought Mortal Kombat 1. And now I'm buying Mortal Kombat 12 on Switch, so hey, nothing's
No,
changed.
that's Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah, well, that's what they say, but it's actually 12. But F-Zero,
That's
F-Zero
Mortal Kombat 1.
F-Zero on Super Nintendo, it does have a lot of nostalgia for me. I used to play it at a comic book store that I went to when I was a kid, and yeah, I love F-Zero. But F-Zero, yeah, F-Zero Super Nintendo was great, and then F-Zero X on 64 was even better, and then one of the greatest games of all time, F-Zero GX on GameCube came out, and I was just trying to put this list together, and I'm like, well, I always put a couple of these franchises at the top of my list, and I was like, maybe I should put them different. I was like, well, what has F-Zero done for me lately? And I was like, well, hold on. There's a little game called F-Zero 99 that is on Switch right now that is really, really good. So I think F-Zero still holds my spot. And I was thinking about, like, if there was an F-Zero game that came out tomorrow that was $60, I would still do whatever I could to buy it. I'd still pay for it and, whatever. Like, not
I'd probably buy it too. I'd be like, what the fuck? A whole
I would like
F-Zero
I would
game?
if a new F Zero game came out, or even if they re-released F Zero GX like HD remastered version for
I call it Gen
$60,
X.
I would buy it in like 2 seconds because that game is so good. Like F Zero, yeah, well, sure we got Mario Kart, but F Zero is like the fast, hardcore, futuristic, incredible like butt rock, progressive rock, whatever soundtrack you want to call it. It's it's wonderful. It's a wonderful, wonderful game.
It's the Star Fox of Mario Kart.
Well, yeah,
Even though Mario Kart came out later and it was supposed to be F-Zero 2, kind of.
Star Fox is like the Sir not
Or
appearing
I'm saying Mario
film
Kart was
on my
supposed to be.
on my list here. But no, but F Zero awesome. Play F Zero 99. It's a great game. And then you can
It's wonderful. I've played it recently. I still like it. It's
classic mode.
fun.
It's really cool.
It's one of those games you can just dive into and be like, you could get like like be like, no, I'm doing poorly, and then just quit, or you could just keep playing, and then eventually you're gonna be like, oh wait, I'm getting better because you're like remembering how it works. All of a sudden, you're back in the zone and you're having a great time, just like Tetris.
Exactly. What's your number three?
My number three is something that we don't talk a lot about on the show. In fact, I haven't checked out at least the last game. I may have missed the last two games as far as I know, but I was a big fan of the Professor Layton games on the DS.
Oh,
So I've been doing a little bit of a deep dive there, but I really found those games to be
I mean
great
it's
because
an exclusive, so I'll allow it, right?
it was absolutely an
No
exclusive,
exclusive. Yeah, yeah.
Factor 5 or whatever. But um, so Professor Layton is like essentially like a Sherlock Holmes type character, but he's super obsessed with being a gentleman. So
Level five.
yeah, I said level 5. I thought.
You said factor five. It's
Oh, did
good,
I?
but
Whatever.
still, it's fine.
That's a different
I
company.
get those confused too.
There's a number 5. Johnny 5 is alive. Anyway, I when I lived with my my last roommate I had that wasn't someone I was dating was my friend Nick, and Nick would always like buy all the Leighton games when they'd first come out, and so I played those. And a lot of times I just play them like chilling in the living room or whatever, just like taking my time, my sweet ass time. And that's one of the first times where I was really just like, it's nice to take your time with video games. Just chill.
Yeah.
Take your time with it and just think critically and play them slow. And that's the way the Leighton games are. And some of those puzzles are a little easier than others, but usually there's some sort of clue in the description. And then you're approaching all these different puzzles where they're like they're utilizing the touchscreen in different ways, or like just trying their best to like turn you on your heel from what you would expect from the puzzle you're going to see. That's the best way I can describe it, but it all fits into the narrative and it all kind of makes sense. And a lot of them are optional. Like you have the ability to just kind of like power through the game and play the main puzzles, but there's a lot of cool little puzzles you can find along the way. And I don't know. It was cool. And it's a very much like a logic based, everything makes sense. You're never going to be like, what the fuck was that all about? Like it all makes sense if you really think about it. And I don't know. It's just a very like charming. I think the word nowadays would be cozy. It's a cozy game, and I recommend any of the Leighton games on the DS. And I haven't played any of the newer ones, but they were wonderful. And they're kind of like the cozy side of the Phoenix Wright games, right?
And there's another one coming out too, I think, on Switch sometime
Soon,
soon.
yeah.
And there's a whole like story of like there's a whole like I wouldn't call it a multiverse, but there's a whole universe of like how those characters are related and stuff. So,
Oh
and
yeah.
there's even some time travel stuff in one of the games I remember playing. So
Yeah, and
they
there's like
really do.
crossovers and there's like a
Yeah.
kid now too. Right? He
Yeah.
has a kid. I think it's the
Yep.
newest one. This is kid. Number two, John, number two. What do you
Number
got?
two is all of the Nintendo franchises. I'm talking about Super Smash Brothers.
Oh, I was gonna say cheat.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Smash Brothers counts. Obviously, there's like what, four of those at least.
Yep.
64 Cube, Wii U. Oh my God, there's like five of them. Well,
And the DS one.
in the
Yep.
3DS one, yeah, yeah, it is everything. The ultimate multiverse. We were talking about the Mortal Kombat multiverse earlier, but yeah, the Nintendo did well. Obviously, they did the multiverse before it was popularized by whatever, before Marvel did it or whatever the fuck. So
On film. Yeah. Yeah. I think this had to be included. Talk about the, the best Nintendo franchises. You might say we're talking about the ultimate Nintendo franchises, which means we got to talk about the one that puts everything together.
I mean, it
And
really does feel like
so,
they just threw everything in a blender.
well, not
right,
to mention
right,
now that it like, I mean, Smash Brothers kind of blew my mind because I've always been a fighting game fan, and Smash Brothers was so different from like your regular like Mortal Kombat or Tekken
right.
or Street Fighter or whatever, and I was just like, this game makes no sense, but it was just they just thought like so outside of the box and just did this completely different thing. And yeah, and I was
Right.
just I saw like a fight online earlier about people saying that like, oh no, well that game's not as good as whatever. It's like, what? It has everything in it now. It has like Street Fighter and Tekken and King of Fighters in there, like
So every
and Kingdom Hearts
maker
even.
of
Like they
fighting
just
games,
yeah they brought everybody into it. It's insane. And like and
so
Xenoblade
those
as well. Like it's yeah they just reached out their arms and just brought it all and like 20 Fire Emblem characters, but whatever, they're all great.
to all those folks who say it's not like a real fighting game, I would say all of your favorite fighting game franchises, except for Mortal Kombat, are represented in
Right?
Super Smash Brothers. So the people who make those games embrace it as a great fighting game.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, even like the Ryu and Ken characters, like if you do their moves the way you normally would, it like has higher damage percentage and all that. Like, no, Smash Brothers is 100% a fighting game. It's just a fighting game that you had not really thought of. You know, it's this complete, but it's still
Different type of
it
design,
works
yeah.
exactly the same way. Like even though it's oh, and even to the point of like Street Fighter Six has borrowed like the way that you play. You know, because now they have the like easy mode or whatever, like or the beginner mode where you can do moves
Hmm.
like you would in Smash Brothers. So the influence of Smash Brothers has like gone out to all of the other fighting games to where now Street Fighter's even using it. You know, where they have their own like Smash Brothers mode. So I allow it. So my number two,
Yeah, and then it's also, I also got to say, it's one of the best Nintendo franchises because not only is it like a great fighting game that throws all the Nintendo characters in there, it is essentially the Nintendo museum put into a video game. It's you've got all these the trophies, the different soundtrack, the music you can collect. It goes above and beyond being just like a quote unquote Nintendo fighting game to being a showpiece of all things great about Nintendo.
yeah, and even when they stretched their arms out enough on this last one to incorporate like Castlevania into it, and like there were all these like you know new remixes of Castlevania that were not there before. Like they've just yeah, they really brought a lot of it together. Even like something as silly as arms. We even had arms people in there. But yeah, no.
I just think they view it as their pop cultural repository at this point. And they're like, let's just throw all that Nintendo in there so we can educate people while they just beat the shit out of each other, Fortnite style.
I always thought it was really cool to see Castlevania in there, though, for like anybody who grew up with an NES or SNES. Like Castlevania was always synonymous with Nintendo, and it was cool to see, you know, them finally
Yeah,
back. But my number two used to be my number one, but now it's my number two. And this
you should
series
see Doctor about that.
about my number one and number two being reversed. Uh, yeah, my number two is a little game series called Metroid. You ever heard of that? Can Metroid crawl? I'm not sure. You gotta look it up. Look
What
it up.
happens
It could
if
roll.
Look
Samus
it
is
up.
pregnant?
Let's say look it up on Miiverse. Miiverse doesn't exist anymore, but no, Metroid. You know, Super Metroid. Probably my favorite game of all time. But and you know these. So I would always say that F Zero and Metroid were my favorite franchises. Even if we would put Mario and Zelda in here, they would still be my favorite franchises. So eat it, Link and Mario. But no, seriously, Metroid. If anybody would ask me, "What's your favorite Nintendo thing?" I would always say Metroid. That's why we have that painting upstairs that Jess did of Samus. Because when we first started dating, Jess said, "Who's your favorite Nintendo character?" And I said, "Samus from Metroid," because Metroid is my favorite. They've always been my favorite. I got here, you know, I got my Metroid toys like right here. This Metroid is all over the place. It's my favorite. It's my number two. And you know, it's like I was thinking about it. It's like, well, you know, you've always had these favorite franchises, but what have they done for you this year? And thankfully, it's been a damn good year because we got the remaster of Metroid Prime, also one of my favorite games of all time on Switch. Fucking baller, amazing ass game. And then we had Metroid Dread last year, which is also fucking amazing, which I think was our game of the year. So I mean, you know, Metroid's coming back in a big way. So I appreciate that because I love that shit. That's my love those sci-fi the sci-fi isolation of Metroid and killer soundtrack and yeah, wonderful design. Love the character. Love all of it. Metroid, good shit.
Yeah. Hold on, I
What's your
blinked.
two, Jeremy?
Damn it, I just blinked out. Damn it.
Did you lose your list?
No, no, I didn't lose my list. I've been altering it as we go.
Okay. We only got two left. We're so close. Let's just. I know John's got to go to bed, and I want to
Give me a second here.
ready
Don't
to
rush it too
be
much.
done. So
I know my number one. My number two is just had it. John, why don't you do your final two and then I'm gonna think.
Okay.
we're skipping it. Oh
My
well, I
number
mean,
one.
we already did two, so John has one. We both have one left.
John, go ahead and do one, and then I'm gonna come back and do my two, and then
Sure.
Okay.
My number one non-Mario, non-Zelda Nintendo franchises. It's Chibi Robo.
of
It's
course,
Oh yeah,
it's underrepresented. Yes, there's only three. There's only three
it
games,
qualifies in my
and
mind because they do
you
have
know,
three. They have three games. That's what that was my
mhm.
qualification. They do have three. One of them is great.
I've oh
I've only played one other one, which was not great, but the GameCube one was great.
yeah, I've only played one game in the series, but that was one of our qualifiers that we had to play more than one game,
No, no,
and
yeah,
that
we
one
didn't.
game, I love it.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and it deserves to have many more games. At the very least, they have to do a remaster of the GameCube one. It's begging for it. You know, the game is it's such great quality. All it needs is like a visual touch up and put it out again. Like they keep trying to put GB Robo like well with the other two. I guess they don't keep trying, but they've tried twice to do it in sort of a different way. One on the DS and then one on the 3DS. 3DS is a side-scrolling platform. I don't want a side-scrolling platformer. I think the one on the 3DS was a missed opportunity because that would have been fantastic. To see the from the minuscule perspective on the 3DS where you could do 3D, and I was looking forward to that. Like as soon as I heard about 3DS and like try out like games that you see from a small perspective, I thought that could have been so cool to see tiny perspective in 3D, looking like a little dollhouse or something. Um, that would have been so cool. What a missed opportunity. But come on, bring it back. At the very least, do a GameCube remaster and get
Yeah.
on that, or at the very least, get it on that NSO GameCube app and
That
just give us
will
GB
maybe
so
come
Robo
Zip
with all the greatness.
Ziplash was the last one, right?
Yeah,
It was, yeah.
Ziplash was the 3DS one, which I did buy. I
Which
bought
in
it.
some ways feel like it was more like a way to sell amiibo than to make a game.
Yeah, well, I bought it at the
I bought it.
Nintendo store in New York while Jess and I were there, just to get the amiibo. But also I wanted to try it, and I did play it, and yeah, it's just got some really weird choices in it that are not fun. Like it has this whole like where you can't even pick the next stage. It like gets randomly chosen for you, and you might have to play a stage you already played. And I'm like, well, what are you doing here? Like this is not fun. Like what is this? And I was willing to give it a chance because it could be a fun 2D game or whatever. But yeah, no, I would have like got it on day one if it was a re-release of the GameCube game on 3DS. Like that would have been really cool, or
Mm-hmm.
even something like that. Yeah, where you could be the little guy walking around and doing all the shit and all that. I still have my Chibi Robo GameCube game. I know it's very
Yeah.
expensive now, but I still have it. But same, it's basically like John and I are kind of on the same page here for different things for GameCube re-releases. I think you feel the same way if they re-released it on Switch for $60, you'd still throw down for it. I mean, I would.
Oh, I
If
would.
they did a remaster
100%.
of it, you know.
Yep.
Same with like F-Zero GX, like as I'm saying, like there's a lot, and I think Nintendo's kind of realized that now with the
Yeah.
Switch, obviously, that they can re-release some of their GameCube games at like almost full price. Like they're, I mean, we got Thousand Year Door coming out like just in a few months, which I'm really excited to play that game again because that's
Same.
listen to our Patreon. We put that one
Yeah,
up pretty high. I mean, this
and
I think it's the best of the Mario RPG
I
series,
would
in
have to agree.
my opinion.
they do show the GB love a little bit here and there, even though they don't make new games in the series. Like they put them in Smash Brothers. They put out that GB on fire tweet when people were anticipating a direct. Like they haven't
Oh yeah,
completely
yeah.
forgotten about, and so I think there's people at Nintendo who recognize it's a good franchise, but not
and
enough
not
people, I
and
guess.
not and to say not to forget like Pikmin, very chibi, like we had that like the Pikmin 4 in the house, like we were the little character and all that. And
Mm.
also like the level from Mario Kart 8, like where you're on the the one in the giant in the bathroom where you like go in like in the bathtub and go through the
Oh
drain.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite new DLC levels. But that totally had that same like Chibi Robo vibe to me, where you're the little
And
or even
to a
like
lesser extent, the Katamari level, like getting to play Katamari, and like kind of getting the impression of maybe that's what Chibi's like. I've never played Chibi Robo.
you know,
yeah. I think you would
well
really
like
enjoy
what
it
was it
because you
the
enjoyed
I was gonna
Moon,
say
and it feels a lot like Moon, but in 3 dimensions
same developers.
and and set inside a house, all inside a house. Feels a lot like Moon.
Well, shit.
Because
Now I have to play it.
I
yeah,
liked it a lot
and
more than
I
Moon.
do.
But I mean,
I
thankfully
loved it, man.
you don't pass out from. Well, I guess you kind of do. You could pass out from a certain amount of walking because you have to charge yourself because you're a
Mm-hmm.
little machine guy. I forgot about that. But no, I just thought all the characters were really interesting, and yeah, the toys
Machine Guy Chibi.
have their own stories and all that. And yeah, I was gonna say I put it on my top whatever list for whatever year that was, but Tinykin had a lot of Chibi Robo feeling to it. Like that was a really really cool game.
That was a very early Switch release.
Not a Nintendo game, but no,
But
Tinykin was a couple of years ago.
I think GB Robo is the number one Nintendo franchise that deserves a shot right in this moment when the Switch is at its peak, when they are still wanting to like sell Switch software, but they're probably moving most of their resources to the next system. And so all you got to do, and as I said, they still have some love for GB Robo. Guys, just remaster the original. Put it on Switch now that Switch has a huge audience, 20 times whatever the GameCube was at the end of its life cycle. Like now is the moment to launch the Chibi franchise again. Do it.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, definitely. Now that they're doing like they're doing a remake of like Mario vs. DK, even like now that they're throwing out a whole lot of remakes, put Chibi out there too. Like, let's see what it can do. Like, Pikmin 4 had like they had like the highest, had like the best selling. Like even Metroid did too. Like Metroid had sold more than any other Metroid had before that. So we got the
Yeah, I
install
think
base.
Pikmin
Like,
4
let's
beat
throw some other
was
people
the
in there.
top selling Pikmin game within like a couple of months
Yeah. Well, it
of
beat
all time.
well, I mean, 3 did really well too, actually, when it was re-released on Switch, and they were pretty close, but 4 was above it from what I saw. But yeah, I mean, it's the base is there, so yeah, put it out. People will buy it. I mean, they put fucking Bot and Kaidos on there, which I still haven't played, but I own it. So they put
I
that on.
still have not bought that. I plan to eventually.
I bought it. It was on sale. It was $30. Got it on sale. Do you have your number 2 yet, Jeremy?
I do. My number 2 is Tetris. And this is like an historic one, but Nintendo's done so much with Tetris. Like they've really kind of like made it their own on Nintendo. And everybody else has. Like Tetris is just like this very fluid game mechanic that can be manipulated in a lot of great ways. And we just keep seeing different ways they do it. But, you know, uh historically Nintendo, was one of the first companies, if not the first, to, as far as the ones who produce consoles, to get the Tetris license. Obviously, Taito, or was it Taito, or yeah, I can't remember who Tengen, there we go.
Tengen.
Tengen got a hold of the Tetris
Mhm.
license as well and released it on the NES. But there was a lot going on because it was owned by the state when it was made, because the USSR was still a thing, and so as far as socialism works, like Tetris was owned by the state, and in a lot of weird ways, it just like spread all around the place. But I feel like Nintendo did the best job with it. And if you're gonna have your
100%.
best versions of Tetris, you're gonna find them on the Nintendo consoles, including the Game Boy version,
Well, yeah, they
which
kind of
which
made it their
turned
own,
like
right?
everybody into like portable gamers. Yeah,
And not
and
even,
then
yeah, not even like just. I mean, yeah, there's the Game Boy version, but don't forget what I think is the best Tetris game ever, Tetris DS. Like you play Tetris DS, right?
yeah,
That
That's
game
a
was
Tetris
great one.
so
DS is
Yeah.
good.
amazing.
Where it has like you got the Metroid game, there's like a Donkey Kong game, like it's a Mario game,
Mm-hmm.
and it has like all these incredible remixes of the music, and it's like it did like different Tetris stuff that you'd never done before. Like I love that game. Like Tetris DS.
Tetris is a very
Yes.
universal thing. Like I don't even know if I
Yeah.
would call it a genre. Like a genre almost
Yeah.
seems too vague for what it is. Like it's almost its own thing in how the human brain works and how it interfaces with our brains and the way we think. Like I would almost call Tetris like its own fucking thing. But as far as like
Yeah.
video game interpretations of those shapes, Nintendo has done the best with it. And,
Yeah.
obviously
And I,
Tetris 99 is amazing. And, we have Tetris Effect that wasn't originally on the NES or on the Nintendo consoles, but,
We have it
you know,
now.
they did a good job with porting it to the Switch. But yeah, I just think like I feel the best place to experience a Tetris game is still on a Nintendo console, and
yeah.
you're gonna find just the best. It's just like this primal itch that we all have at this point. It seems to play Tetris, and Nintendo
I,
just does the best job with it. And like I just played like Tetris 99 recently. Like that game keeps it evergreen for me. I keep playing Tetris. Like this game
Did you
came
get
out
the
in 80. I think it officially came out in 85 on a mainframe owned by the USSR, and eventually, got moved to other means of play or whatever. But I probably played it on the NES first. But it's been part of my vernacular as a gamer since at least 1990, maybe 89. I don't know. Like it's just built into my brain. Yeah,
and I
Tetris is
think
just
it's,
it's just an incredible thing that Nintendo has exploited very well.
I think, yeah, I allowed because it's so closely associated with Nintendo, and Nintendo uh, ushered the Tetris phenomenon
Well,
onto
they
the
also
world.
did produce the first one that came out for NES and
Yeah,
the
the
Game
first
Boy.
one that came out, they produced that, and like, yeah, it's. I think that it's apparent to me that whenever uh, uh, the Tetris company makes a game on the Nintendo platforms, it's like treated with uh, a high regard. It's treated with that history in mind, and the fact that folks like have that association between Tetris and Nintendo. So much that like Trey mentioned Tetris DS, like that was like I can almost guarantee the envisioning of that game was like Nintendo's got a new console, guys. What would Tetris look like in whatever year that came out, 2005? What would Game Boy Tetris look like in 2005? Let's just like throw all the bells and whistles at it, and we're gonna make it a Nintendo theme as well. So yes, I think although it's not owned by Nintendo, it might as well be, and they're so closely associated in
I mean, I think it was Howard
most
Lincoln
gamers' minds.
who
Yeah,
like
yeah,
who actually went to like Moscow or wherever it
yeah,
was at the time and like negotiated to get it published on Nintendo as a first party title. So it was initially first party in whatever murky sense of the word. And that's why I allowed it in my, and that's why I was like forgetting it earlier, but I'm like,
the
no, I
same?
have to include this because it is nearly synonymous with Nintendo, especially handheld Nintendo. Tetris is just like linked to that on a very base level.
I think it was Hank Rogers that went to that went
Oh,
to
I said
Russia.
Howard Lincoln. I meant
To,
Hank Rogers. Sorry.
Hank
Howard
Rogers.
Lincoln was Hank Rogers was the developer. Howard Lincoln was the lawyer.
The lawyer who did go. Yep.
If you want to,
Back
yeah,
to
if you want to know the real story of it, read it online. Don't watch that movie. Or there is actually a documentary that
Yeah, just go to the
actually
internet. It's got
is
all the
true.
truths.
But there is an actual documentary on Tetris that was actually had real life things, not that fucking shitty Apple movie. But
I tried watching it, but like everything started moving faster at the end of the movie. I'm like, I can't. You just keep track anymore.
it's
I
whatever.
thought it was a fun movie. I thought it
I haven't seen it. I was just joking.
It's
I thought it could have been
I thought it was too long and too incorrect for its own good. Can anybody guess what my number one is? I'm pretty sure that both of you can guess. I gave enough hints earlier. It's my number one Nintendo franchise. I can play you.
I mean, I thought it would be your number two. I thought your number two would have been your number one, so that's why I'm like, is it really going to be Fire Emblem?
No, it's not that.
Xenoblade.
Let's go say I could play. I could just play. I could just play something that might tell you about it. No, that's right. Xenoblade
Island Hero.
Chronicles is
Wow, that's your number one, huh?
Xenoblade Chronicles is my number one
After
because,
all these years.
well, after all these years since the Super Nintendo, when I became a RPG fan, I have been, you know, very thirsty for good RPGs on Nintendo systems, and we have not had a whole lot for years. And finally, Nintendo got this little wonderful company called Monolith Soft to do some incredible, incredible games. And yeah, I mean, there's a game series called Final Fantasy that people like love to pretend that they like, but I think that the Xenoblade series has more better games than Final Fantasy. I'm just saying, Nintendo finally has their own franchise of incredible RPGs. We got Xenoblade Chronicles X, we got Xenoblade Chronicles 1, 2, and 3, not to mention the incredibly awesome DLC that we've gotten. And there was the re release of Xenoblade Chronicles 1 on Switch that also had DLC on top of it. There was another more cool shit. And we even had the DLC for 3 that came out this year, which had like incredible battle systems and all that on it. Like, yeah, I will always go to bat for Xenoblade because
Also, not to mention Monolith Soft is just a like in the pocket
they're
company
a
that makes
powerhouse.
Nintendo like make sense anymore.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what I was hinting at earlier because the two other games that I mentioned, Splatoon and Animal Crossing, are also made by Monolith Soft, including Breath of the Wild and Tears of the
Tears of
Kingdom.
the Kingdom, yep.
And they've done other shit too. They worked on like what was it, the Mario Tennis game on Wii U, and like they did a bunch of shit. But they're a powerhouse. Nintendo saw Xenoblade Chronicles X, and they were like, we need that for Breath of the Wild, and they went to them specifically to make Breath of the Wild what it was because they knew that they understood making giant world, like this giant
Yeah.
scale of worlds and all that.
Then they realize, hey, we need this to be an in-house studio because oh my god, they're gonna make somebody else successful if we don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I thought it like well, I mean, I don't need to get into it, but yeah, Xenoblade. The people who made Xenoblade go as far back as Xenogears, and they even worked on like Final Fantasy 7 and 8, like the main developers did. But what was it? Xenogears, like they ran out of money when they were making it, blah blah, and they did like 3 episodes of what was the other one? Xenosaga. There were like the 3 Xenosagas, and when it came to like, and then there was Baten Kaitos, which they did also for GameCube when they were just kind of trying out Nintendo stuff and blah blah blah. And then finally, there's Project Rainfall, all that shit. We finally got Xenoblade Chronicles here. But I feel like, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I still think it's one of the best games on the Switch, period. And the characters are incredible, the fighting system is incredible, and it feels like a modern RPG. It's not a turn-based RPG, it's not an action RPG, it's somewhere in between. But just the way that they incorporated how you can switch from one character to another and make these incredible like combos that you do, and the stories are great, the characters are great. I'm on board for everything they do. Like everything they put out, I'm there for it because they've been incredible. And this is what I always wanted was Nintendo to have their own good RPG series. And yeah, I know there's the Mario RPG one, but Xenoblade, sorry, blows it all out of the fucking water. Every single one.
Also, one
Also,
of your favorite games where
what?
you're the guy with the yo-yo.
Star Tropics?
Yes, Star Tropics.
Is that your number one?
No, I was surprised you didn't mention Star Tropics. I thought for
There's
sure
only
you would
two. There's
mention
only two Star Tropics games, so
There's
it
only two of
technically
those.
is not qualified for my for my rules on Nintendo franchises. There's only two Star Tropics games. I do love those games, but they're not in my top five. I mean, what have they done for me lately? Nothing. The last Star Tropics came out at the end of NES. I thought about that too when I was putting this list
it.
together.
Yeah.
I was like, I would always say F-Zero and Metroid is my two favorite Nintendo franchises. But before this year, I'd have been like, well, I guess, well, Dread was incredible. But before Dread, I'd be like, what have they done for me? Nothing. Like, nobody cares about Metroid, nobody cares about F-Zero. But then we got 99, and we got Dread, and we got Prime, and then
It's true.
hopefully Prime 2 and 3 are coming as well. And 4, maybe someday my brain's going to explode whenever that happens, but it's going to be a wonderful explosion, and I'm going to enjoy all of it. So, yeah. But Xenoblade Chronicles, I mean, I bought fucking Xenoblade Chronicles posters and framed them and put them in my basement, like, as like a thing to look at because I wanted to be like, here's the ultimate trilogy Xenoblade Chronicles 1, 2, and 3. So, I obviously wanted to advertise my love for the series because I think it's incredible. And yeah, Xenoblade 3, awesome. And Xenoblade 3 DLC, really good. Like they just like every new thing, it's just like they can't make it any better. And I'm like, it'll be like the same as the last one. But no, they do it completely different and they just blow you out of the water all over again. It's like, fuck. What's Xenoblade Chronicles 4 going to be like? Who knows? It's going to like destroy us all in a good way. So I'm excited. That's my number one. What do you got? Give her a number one so we can wrap this up already.
All right. Yeah. So I had a lot of things that I was kind of debating for my number one, but based on what John said earlier, it kind of like wrapped up what I was thinking. So earlier, John was talking about what the extreme sports like Excite Bike and Excite Truck and all that. And so for me,
Excite bots.
I'm
Awesome.
going to say for my number one, it's when Nintendo let us be creative. So I could go back to the original Excite Bike where they let us build a track. We couldn't save it
Mm.
because we didn't have Famicom disk system, but um, Nintendo, when they allow us to make stuff, it's pretty cool. And that, of course, starts for me personally, not just with Excite Bike, but with Mario Paint. And I loved Mario Paint. I loved everything about it. And eventually I kind of like by the time I, was playing it for a year or two, I realized, you could take all these different elements and combine them together. And you could make, your own little version of a movie, whatever. Like I did some sort of Power Rangers thing where I like made the Go Go Power Rangers theme play while they were moving around and like Megazord flew over or something. But like I did all this stuff and I was just like, I kind of get it. Like there's all these elements of like animation where you have to do like, the individual frames, but you also have to move them around the background and you have to have the background established and all this stuff. And like, I just really like that Nintendo gave me that opportunity, before I realized I could do it on a PC or something. Like I was doing this on a console. Subsequently, later on, I would do that with other games, but especially the Mario Maker games. And then also, let's say, uh, a little bit with the Labo games and the VR Garage. Like when Nintendo gives us the reins to be creative, I think that's one of the most satisfying moments of being like a Nintendo loyalist where I'm like, they trust me enough to like create my own stuff within this universe. And like they've given me the tools
They trust
and
you to
they're
make it,
letting
but not
me,
share it.
well, that's
For
fair.
depending on
But
what it is.
I just love that like my, when I was playing, when I bought Zelda for $10 with my birthday money when I turned 10 from the pawn shop. I just want to go back to that kid and be like, someday you'll be able to make your own games. And it'll all be within the software of Nintendo. Like, I mean, little me would be like, get away from me, creepy old guy. But still, like at the same time, it's like
Your
I don't
hair is
know.
so long. Why is it so long?
It's just really cool that you can make stuff in the Nintendo universe. And maybe it's not canon, but it makes sense within canon, like especially, in Game Builder Garage or in Mario Maker, where you can like choose your style and you can make your game based on like a certain style of Mario. And I just really love that Nintendo gave us that option. And maybe, early on Mario Paint made us think like this is going to happen a lot, but it didn't. there was kind of a sequel in Japan,
Well, there
and
was yeah, there was the like DD stuff, right? The disc drive Mario
right.
Artist or whatever.
But
This
we didn't see it again until I would say until Mario Maker. Like we didn't see that again
Yeah,
until the first Mario Maker, and we had this awesome tool in the Wii U gamepad where we could draw and like obviously that wasn't as great in in Mario Maker 2 when they were on the Switch, but all I'm saying is like when Nintendo gives us the reins and lets us build something, like a lot of really cool stuff happens, especially when people can share it. And I think like as much as obviously I love Mario, obviously I love Zelda, and we omitted these things from this conversation for a reason.
I omitted them because they would be in your both top twos probably.
Right. But when
Not
it
mine,
comes down to it,
but others.
I love to sort of feel like I'm working in Nintendo's universe, that I'm creating something within that space where I almost like am rubbing elbows with Miyamoto. I know that's not really
yeah.
what's
He's got a
happening, but
backdoor like key to every Mario Maker software, so he can
yeah.
like peek in and check your levels, and oh, Jeremy's doing great. I like this one.
But as far as like other games I've played where I could be creative, I've
he
just
loves the
I've never like leaned into it as much as I did with Nintendo games. And between Mario Paint and jumping all the way to Mario Maker, and obviously I did some stuff with Game Builder Garage and with the Labo. Like it's there. Nintendo's made that content. It's not at the forefront, but it exists. Like you can kind of be a creator within certain limited parameters, and I love that. And that's my number one Nintendo, not those main properties things.
I'll allow it. I mean, I guess with because yeah, there's the Game Builder Garage and some of the Labo VR stuff.
I
Not
own all this
Mario.
stuff, by the way, too.
Those are two, but whatever. Mario Paint is far enough away. That's fine. I'll allow it. But anyway, we should wrap it up here on our episode 400. But
400.
thanks
Happy
everybody
400
who
episodes. Happy. I'll take a moment to say like happy 400 episodes. I don't know what you guys said at the top of the show, but yeah.
We said John's probably going to say some shit later and just ignore it. No, we never said that.
we didn't. Yeah,
We never said that.
We didn't say that. We didn't say that much about it. We just said like we started whenever. We've been on for however many years and however many listeners. But thanks for anybody who
Yeah.
gave a shit and listened to us, or
John, say your thing. I wasn't trying to shut you down.
responded to us, or
Oh, no
Patreoned
problem.
us, or whatever.
I'm just saying, like, when I tell people, oh, we got a podcast, uh, sometimes folks will be like, oh, that's interesting. I can tell, like a lot of folks have a podcast these days, and then I'll kind of explain a little more, and I'll say, oh yeah, we're closing in on 400 episodes. They go, what? You know what I mean? Like, um, it's an achievement that we should pat ourselves on the back on.
No, I was telling folks that tonight. Like I was
Like
like,
400.
yeah, we're about to record our 400th episode, and they were just like, wait, what? Like
I posted it.
People do podcasts, but
I posted it
Consistency.
on the Discord and on the Twitters. But yeah, 400
think,
episodes since
we are a
2005.
force. I mean, we're whatever version of force a force is, but we are a force, and we will keep making episodes. And you better believe 500 is going to be a very special thing.
2 years from now, we gotta do that. But yeah, we gotta wrap up this one. But yeah, hopefully you appreciated that. And if you
We're
like
not even
it,
talking about Game Awards that happens tomorrow.
well, we could talk about that next week or something.
Whatever.
But yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm the only one that watches them, so it's fine.
I'm
But
only watching them this year because I work
oh
during
yeah,
the day.
because we got a bet on that. We got to send Jeremy $5 maybe tomorrow. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening. If you want to hear more of us, go to patreon.com/NintenDomain podcast. And anybody who's watching the Twitch, you could see this video if you give us $5 or whatever. You give us $1. There's different levels, You give us $15, you can get coffee cups and posters and shit if you want that sort of thing through Patreon. You can check that out, or Nintendo or
Buy
YouTube.com
400 of them in celebration of the episode.
yeah. or you can go to youtube.com/NintenDomain podcast, or I said on the Twitters at Nintendo_domain and at JMXTech. We're on there. Um, yeah, we're all around. You can look, just search us on Google or whatever. You can find NintenDomain wherever you, whatever. And, leave us a review or something, that sort of thing. I don't think that matters anymore, but do that. But yeah, 400 episodes. Thanks for listening. We've
We
been your
appreciate you.
hosts.
Thank you for listening to all these episodes.
Yeah, and if you haven't heard all of them, go back to one and just listen to all of them, and you'll probably be good for the next like
Yeah.
five.
Like just listen to start at one and work your way through about 400, and then you should get it.
And then just write us a summary and send it to us next week.
Just make a compilation of all the times that we all say dumb shit or something. Like, how many times does this person say, "Hey, I have this," or "I got this on," or "I played this when I was a kid," or whatever. Those sort of things. But yeah, thanks for listening. We've been your hosts. I'm Trey Johnson,
Jerry Mikowski.
John Hitter.
and we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening. See you next week.
See ya. See ya.
See ya.
Times 400. See ya. See ya. Times 400.
There you go. All right, John. Thanks for. I don't know what your call time is tomorrow, but
Thank you for like staying up late for
I mean,
us.
if they kept you out till 11, it shouldn't be at like 6 in the morning or something.
But you're like
Yeah, it'll be a little bit later.
you're in the same town as Trey right now.
It's true, but
True.
we won't see each other until whenever this is over.
Yeah, so I want to when we're done filming, get together. That'd be cool. So we're
I'll
supposed to be
try.
done.
I'm about 2 hours south, but I might try.
So in February,
Um,
when it's over.
Oh, in
no,
Feb?
I think no, no.
No,
I think it's
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I know that sometimes they don't. Sometimes things go over.
yeah, it's supposed. I think we're aiming for the 22nd. I think.
Oh, I
So,
could probably get up there.
I thought it was the
but
third.
I'm gonna be here till the 24th. Well, morning of the 24th.
Well, I mean, we
23rd is
can't.
hang out.
No, say we probably can't hang out.
I'm
But
going
we
to
actually
Vegas
have.
before that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say we actually have people coming here around that
Okay.
time, like family members staying at our house. So
Interesting.
I don't know. Anyway, we could talk about it. Whatever. But Jeremy, what are you doing this weekend?
This weekend I am
Can we record a Patreon on Sunday?
yes, Sunday is fine.
I know, John, you're working. You don't have to be on it, but
Sunday is fine.
I thought we could just do that killer apps one that I was talking about.
Let's do Sunday. Sunday night at
Is that cool?
Sunday night late is good for me.
Okay,
Yes.
can we crank one out before because I'm on. I got to shoot. I'm going out of town for a week after that.
Sunday night at night is great for me because I have Mondays off, and
Yeah.
Sean
Yeah.
has to go to bed because she works in the morning. So yeah.
And
Sunday
John,
night's-
you'll be working. I figured you won't be on it, but I just wanted to try to get
Yeah.
if we could just like crank one out before I go, and then just for the. And I figured we'd do that killer app one. But I thought since Jeremy and I maybe we could focus on like non-Nintendo stuff that we got, like games that made us buy like a PS2 or PS4 or whatever, like that sort of thing. I could put it on Slack. We can talk about it.
Cool.
Or it could be like it can be whatever. It could be like what games got you to get a 3DS or whatever, that sort of thing. But it'd be fun to do a Nintendo stuff because we have a lot of Nintendo stuff between the two of us.
We really do.
So yeah, if we could do that Sunday night, that would be great. So
I love you, friends.
plan on that. Just wanted to make
Before
sure
we go, if you can cut the recording.
when we cut it,
I'm going to stop the recording.